Hello, dear viewers. Support me by subscribing to my channel and share my video if you like it. And also, make sure you comment your thoughts. Now let's start the video. Kai's ability to fly was naturally thanks to Haunter. As long as Haunter was by his side, there was no need to worry about accidents. He could surf through the skies freely. Skriak. With Zapdos's enraged cry, dark clouds rapidly spread over the city. The thick, overlapping clouds turned the sky into a pitch-black abyss. Under the TV tower, Ash and Pikachu exchanged a glance before looking up at Zapdos, whose brilliance pierced through the stormy sky like a beacon. The light seemed to flow in Ash's eyes. This move is... That's thunder, Brock said knowingly. It's one of the most powerful electric-type moves. On a rainy day like this, it's almost impossible to dodge. Crash. As the power of lightning reached its peak, Zapdos let out another thunderous cry. A colossal bolt of electricity struck the massive Tentacruel, its roar loud enough to shake the heavens. The giant Tentacruel couldn't endure the attack any longer and collapsed. Whether from exhaustion or unconsciousness, its body shrank, returning to its normal size. Cheers erupted from the crowd. With their leader defeated, the tentacles scattered, retreating from the city. Zapdos glided through the air before flying back toward the TV tower. Seizing the moment, Kai leapt onto its back. Under the watchful eyes of the crowd, humans and Pokémon swiftly disappeared behind the tower. Before long, Kai removed his mask, blended into the crowd, and returned to the TV tower as if nothing had happened. The aftermath of the attack was staggering. The Tentacruel incident had caused tens of billions in damages, leaving countless buildings in ruins and properties destroyed. Nestina, who had invested heavily in Porta Vista, not only lost her assets but also her reputation. Her dream of further investment was shattered. The tragedy left many wondering how the city would recover and what lessons could be learned. Ash and Brock, caught up in the excitement of the battle, didn't notice Kai's departure. Misty, however, seemed to sense something. She smiled subtly in Kai's direction but said nothing. As the group regrouped, they noticed Horsa approaching Misty. During the chaos, Misty attended to Horsa's injuries and even protected him, touched by her kindness. Horsa decided to join her as her Pokémon. After hours of effort, the group set up camp outside the city to rest and share a meal. Kai took his first taste of Brock's cooking and was immediately impressed. "Wow, this is amazing," Kai said, giving a thumbs up. "Compared to your cooking, everything I make is an insult to my stomach. I need to find someone with your skills to travel with someday." Kai wasn't exaggerating. Brock's care and skill transformed simple ingredients into extraordinary dishes, delighting both humans and Pokémon alike. Embarrassed by the praise, Brock took out some recipes and handed them to Kai. "These are pretty simple, but if you follow the instructions, they'll turn out great." "Thanks a lot," Kai said, carefully tucking the recipes away. Meanwhile, footage of Zapdos battling Tentacruel had already gone viral online, spreading to regions far and wide. The mysterious figure with the ghost mask and the sheer power of Zapdos became hot topics of discussion. Many speculated about the identity of the masked trainer, while others marveled at Zapdos' strength. Later, the group prepared to part ways. Though Misty felt sad, she understood it was time to move on. Before leaving, Kai handed her a small gift box. "Take this. I bought it for you in Celadon City. I hope you like it." Blushing slightly, Misty accepted the box without opening it. It didn't matter what was inside, even if it was just candy, she would cherish it. As Kai's silhouette disappeared into the distance, Misty's eyes grew misty. She whispered softly, "Mr. Kai, let's meet again." Ash's ears perked up. "Huh? Mr. Kai? Why are you calling him that?" "Idiot," Misty snapped, blushing fiercely. Grabbing Ash's ear, she retorted, "It's basic politeness. He's older than us, so it's normal to call him Mr. "Oh, I see," Ash said, nodding. "Then I'll call him Big Brother Kai. It sounds nice." After leaving Porta Vista, Kai headed north, eventually arriving at Maiden's Peak. It felt strange returning after so many days, but Kai didn't dwell on it. He made his way to the Maiden Shrine, where he found the old priest sweeping the courtyard. Upon hearing Kai's plan to use comics to share the story of Maiden's Peak, the priest nodded energetically. "That's a wonderful idea. Thank you so much." The priest hesitated only when Kai mentioned involving the whole town. "This story is deeply rooted in our town's history, so I can't make this decision alone. Let me inform the mayor. He'll want to hear about this." Kai was taken aback. He had only intended to honor the spirit of the Maiden and reassure Haunter not to involve local politics, but now it seemed his plan was garnering more attention than he'd expected. When a young mayor, wearing gold-rimmed glasses and exuding an air of politeness, arrived at the shrine, Kai recounted the story to him. The mayor listened attentively, flipping through the manga, then lifted his head slightly. His glasses reflected a glint of light, revealing his sharp interest. As a mayor, elected by the local business community, he had a keen eye for spotting lucrative opportunities. Maiden Peak, known for its legendary tale of the Maiden, attracted tourists during specific times of the year. However, aside from that, it lacked unique features. Nearby attractions, such as the renowned Celadon City and the bustling Vermilion Harbor, overshadowed it, leaving Maiden Peak relatively unnoticed. If this manga gains popularity, it could attract more young people to this area, the mayor mused. We could host stage plays, otaku culture events, comic exhibitions, and sell themed merchandise, just like the major cities. This would surely boost tourism and make this town stand out. I heard you're planning to donate the manga to the shrine. That's right, Kai nodded. While he had spent considerable time and effort on the manga, he had never intended to profit from it. To Kai's surprise, the mayor offered a different perspective. Creating the story and artwork must have been no small feat. I'd like to purchase the copyright from you. What do you think? Huh? Purchase it? Kai was taken aback. But this manga is adapted from the local legend of the Maiden. Do I even own the rights? Besides, it's uncertain if it'll become popular. The mayor smiled confidently. I have my ways to manage those matters. With the full support of Maiden Peak, I believe a little promotion can yield substantial results. Kai understood the mayor's intent. Buying the rights at a low price now would prevent disputes and complications if the manga became a success later. However, the offered sum felt like a windfall to Kai, who was struggling financially. To demonstrate sincerity, the mayor offered $20,000 and transferred the amount immediately. Kai's dwindling savings suddenly surged, giving him a sense of financial relief. After signing the agreement, Kai left the shrine and promptly transferred $10,000 to Chloe, asking her to send it to her mother. Shortly after, Professor Cerise's wife, Talia, called. At first, she refused to accept the money, but Kai eventually convinced her. With this, the matter of Maiden Peak finally came to a close. As the manga began circulating, Haunter no longer had to worry about the legend being forgotten. Freed from that burden, he could now travel wholeheartedly with Kai. The outskirts of Celadon City. Dressed in a Gengar-themed mask and a black cloak, Kai approached a heavily guarded temporary camp. The stationed officers, noticing his suspicious attire, immediately drew their weapons and surrounded him. Stop! Who are you? Kai spoke calmly. Looker called me. Please let him know I'm here. The officers hesitated but relayed the message. Shortly after, Looker emerged, looking slightly fatigued. Why are you wearing that mask again? Take it off. Kai shook his head. No. I learned my lesson with Team Rocket last time. From now on, it's safer to stay masked during operations like these. Looker chuckled helplessly. You're already on their radar. A mask won't change that. But suit yourself. Come in. Inside the camp, Kai observed SWAT officers armed to the teeth, police Growleaf teams patrolling diligently, and rows of armored vehicles and helicopters on standby. With this level of firepower, you're going all out, Kai remarked. Looker nodded. We've pinpointed Team Rocket's hideout. Apart from the underground game corner tunnels, we uncovered another exit outside the city. Noticing Looker's labored breathing, Kai asked, How's your injury? Nothing serious, Looker replied with a wave. The doctors insisted on rest, but this situation is urgent. Otherwise, they'd never have let me out of the hospital. Kai couldn't help but marvel at the advanced healthcare in the Pokemon world. Humans and Pokemon alike could recover remarkably quickly with proper treatment from a Pokemon center. And yet, you're still here? Kai asked skeptically. Interpol doesn't rely on just you, right? Of course not. Looker said, gesturing around. These officers are from HQ, and even my boss is here, leading from the front lines. Before Kai could respond, a familiar figure caught his eye. A tall woman with sleek black hair, dressed in a sharp outfit, stood out among the crowd, her piercing gaze fixed on Kai. It was Sabrina. Kai hadn't seen her in a while and didn't expect her to join this operation. Last time, you said we'd meet again soon, Kai said, approaching her. I didn't think it'd be this quick. Sabrina's eyes seemed to pierce through Kai's mask, meeting him directly. I had a feeling you'd come, she said, so I waited. Looks like I was right. Looker took a step back, startled. What's going on here? The aloof, psychic-powered Sabrina, known for her cold demeanor, was speaking warmly to someone. Looker could hardly believe it. By the way, Kai said, rummaging through his bag, I brought this for you. He handed Sabrina a gift box containing perfume. It's a token of thanks for your help last time. Please take it. When Kai walked into the lounge, several people were already scattered about. At the front sat a handsome man with a serious face. His spiky, fiery red hair added to his intense aura, and he wore a black cloak that further emphasized his commanding presence. His sharp eyes seemed to pierce through everything. Beside him lay a Dragonite, curled up lazily on the floor, dozing off. In the corner was an elderly woman wearing a purple robe, leaning on a cane. Her hair had turned a grayish-yellow hue, and her demeanor was untouchable. With her imposing aura, one might mistake her for a wicked witch, if they didn't know better. Next to her sat an old man with graying hair and prominent dark circles under his eyes. His haggard appearance made him seem more unwell than one might expect. Despite wearing a SWAT uniform, he had it open at the chest and paired it with slippers, giving off a starkly casual and almost careless vibe. And then there was Eureka, the gym leader of Celadon City, seated elegantly yet watchful of her surroundings. With Kai's arrival, the lineup for this special operations team was complete. Sabrina, Erica, and the others now formed a full team with him. As soon as Kai entered, all eyes were on him. Why are you still wearing a mask? The old man quipped, raising an eyebrow. You're not some undercover agent on a secret mission, are you? Erica observed Kai from a distance, her brow furrowing slightly. There was something familiar about his figure, but since she'd only encountered him a few times, she couldn't immediately place him. However, Sabrina walked past Erica, and the faint scent of perfume wafted to her nose. Erica's sharp sense of smell immediately identified it. It was one of her store's unique perfumes. When Sabrina had left earlier, she hadn't been wearing perfume. Moreover, as a gym leader, her visits to the perfume shop would have been unforgettable to the staff. Erica's mind raced. It didn't take long for her to piece together the story, realizing Kai's identity and deducing that the perfume was a gift from him. Erica's eyes narrowed as a flurry of questions arose in her mind. What is their relationship? Why did he give Sabrina perfume? And more astonishingly, why did Sabrina accept it? Meanwhile, the man in the black cloak walked to the tactical board. He addressed the group, his authoritative voice drawing their attention. Now that everyone is here, let's start with introductions. But his gaze lingered on Kai's Gengar mask, and he sighed helplessly. Forget it. You can introduce yourself. Kai cleared his throat. Hello, everyone. My code name is Player. I specialize in using ghost-type Pokémon. Please take care of me. Codename? Player? The man's expression darkened, but he chose not to comment. Instead, he introduced the others. On the left, we have two of the Kanto Elite Four, Miss Agatha, the Ghost-type Master, and Mr. Lance, the Dragon-type Master, and a Pokémon Investigator. Agatha chuckled lightly. Oh, dear. Calling me Missits at my age. You're making me blush. She nodded at Kai, her sharp eyes glinting. Young man, wearing a Gengar mask and claiming to specialize in ghost types bold, aren't you? Fewer and fewer trainers appreciate Pokémon that carry the essence of death. Kai accepted the remark calmly. Although he only had Haunter, it was by far his strongest Pokémon. In that sense, her observation wasn't wrong. Lance stepped forward and shook Kai's hand firmly. Welcome. Your presence here speaks to your capabilities. On behalf of the team, I welcome you aboard. Kai nodded, appreciating Lance's professionalism. The cloaked man then turned to the others. You already know Sabrina, so no introductions are needed there. And Erica, well, you've met before, so I'll skip that too. Finally, his gaze rested on the old man with the haggard appearance. This is Mr. Nanu, my former superior. He's an expert in dark-type Pokémon and the kahuna of Ula Ula Island in the Alola region. Nanu waved dismissively. Oh, don't mind me, just an old man counting the days to retirement. Let's get this over with so I can go back to my peaceful life. The man in the cloak laughed. You're still young, Mr. Nanu. Why rush to retire? Before Nanu could respond, the lounge door opened, and a bald man in a sharp suit entered. His presence commanded immediate respect, and the atmosphere grew serious. Is everyone here? The man asked. The cloaked man saluted. Yes, Commander. All 7 members of the Special Operations Team are present. The bald man nodded. I am Zero, the Commander-in-Chief of this operation. Thank you all for gathering here to tackle the menace of Team Rocket, not just for Kanto, but for the world. Applause followed, led by Nanu, albeit half-heartedly. Zero flipped the tactical board and continued. This mission has 2 phases. The primary unit, consisting of international police SWAT forces, will launch a frontal assault on the base using armored vehicles and helicopters. Their attack will draw Team Rocket's attention. Meanwhile, your Special Operations Team will infiltrate the base via the underground entrance beneath Celadon City's game corner. Once inside, you'll neutralize key operatives and assist in the overall takedown. Lance asked, "What about Giovanni?" Good question. Zero's expression darkened. The other 2 members of the Elite Four, Bruno and Lorelei, are stationed in Viridian City. When the time comes, they'll storm the Viridian Gym to apprehend Giovanni. Agatha sighed. It's still hard to believe that someone like Giovanni, admired as Viridian City's gym leader, is the leader of Team Rocket. Zero smirked. The more successful a man appears, the more secrets he hides. No one is exempt from the truth eventually surfacing. Celadon City. At 9 o'clock in the morning, 2 sleek black cars pulled up outside the bustling Celadon game corner, one after the other. The street buzzed with activity vehicles of all sizes flowing continuously, and pedestrians hurrying about their day. No one paid much attention to the 2 cars stopping abruptly. Is it time? Asked the young man seated in the passenger seat, his face hidden behind a Gengar mask. The driver, a frail-looking man, glanced at the dashboard and nodded. Right on schedule. Shall we move? Not yet. We need to wait for the signal. Team Rocket has eyes everywhere here. Stay alert. Understood. Hey, interrupted Erica, her tone a mix of annoyance and amusement. Could you 2 talk normally? You're making it sound like we're spies in a bad movie. Ah, my bad. The man in the driver's seat, known simply as Looker, replied sheepishly. It's just that Kai's mask gives off such a villainous vibe. I can't help but get into character. Kai shot him a solemn look. Mr. Looker, please refrain from making careless remarks. Huh? What did I say wrong? Looker blinked in confusion, sensing an unexpected seriousness. Kai responded with deliberate precision, when we're in action, do not call me by my name. Use my code name instead of player. Seriously? Looker exhaled, his frustration evident. I thought it was something urgent, but you're just nitpicking about a name. Of course, Kai replied earnestly. It makes us sound more professional. From the back seat, Arika covered her mouth, trying to stifle her laughter, while Sabrina allowed the faintest smile to touch her lips. Suddenly, a distant explosion echoed from outside the city, followed by the relentless crackling of what sounded like fireworks or gunfire. Despite the distance, the noise carried clearly. Pedestrians paused, looking toward the outskirts of Celadon City, but their view was obstructed by towering buildings. Is that the signal? Kai asked, his tone sharpening. Looker checked his watch, nodding decisively. Time's up, let's move. At his command, the group exited the vehicles. From the car behind them, Lance, Agatha, and Nanu emerged, their expressions grim and focused. Without hesitation, the team made their way into the game corner. Inside, the atmosphere was lively, with players engrossed in various arcade games. The sudden arrival of the group drew curious and startled glances from the patrons. Ignoring the stares, Kai and the others headed for a seemingly ordinary staircase leading to the 2nd floor. Instead of ascending, Looker began examining the wall near a poster. After a few moments, he found a concealed switch hidden behind it. With a press of the button, the floor opened, revealing a staircase descending underground. At last, the veil over Team Rocket's long-hidden secret base in Celadon City was lifted. 2 disguised Rocket grunts, posing as Game Corner employees, rushed over upon hearing the commotion. The moment they saw the hidden entrance exposed, their faces turned pale. Intruders, one of them shouted. Before they could sound an alarm, Lance and Nanu surged forward. With swift precision, they knocked the grunts unconscious and dragged them into a corner. The team descended into the hidden base, their anticipation growing. The underground space was vast, illuminated by bright lights and filled with advanced equipment. However, the flashing red alarms on the walls signaled a disturbance. The international police and a special task force were attacking another entrance to the base on the outskirts of Celadon, diverting Team Rocket's attention. Perfect, Looker said with satisfaction. Everything is going according to plan. Let's split up as discussed. Nodding in agreement, everyone released their Pokémon and divided into 2 groups, heading down separate corridors to secure critical areas like the control room, R&D lab, archives, armory, and power generator. Their objective, outmaneuver Team Rocket and take control of these key locations. Kai teamed up with Looker, Erica, and Sabrina. They moved quickly, taking down any rocket grunts they encountered. However, the deeper they went, the stronger the resistance grew. Team Rocket operatives armed with firearms and groups of Pokémon launched coordinated attacks, forcing the team to fight with all their might. These guys are tougher than the usual grunts, Looker exclaimed, narrowly dodging an acid spray that melted part of a nearby wall. He wiped the sweat from his brow, his face pale. Cole commanded his Haunter to unleash a Shadow Ball, taking out several opposing Pokémon. Not just tougher, they're more experienced too. Over here! Erica suddenly called out, pointing to a large, reinforced door. This looks like the R&D lab. Looker inspected the door and peered through a small glass panel. You're right, this is where they develop their tech and equipment. But the door's too thick, we can't break it open. Leave it to me, Sabrina said, stepping forward. Her eyes glowed with psychic energy, and the supposedly indestructible door bent and tore apart under the force of her psychic attack. Inside, the lab was in disarray, papers littered the floor, and coffee mugs lay shattered. It was clear the researchers had fled in a hurry. Damn it. Looker growled, rushing to the computers. He began typing furiously, searching for any useful data that might have been left behind. Meanwhile, Kai wandered through the room, observing the still active equipment. Among the clutter, a peculiar pair of binoculars caught his eye. The device was sleek, with a white body and faintly glowing blue lenses. Curious. Kai picked it up. What's this? He muttered, examining the object. Out of curiosity, he held it up to his eyes. To his surprise, the binoculars didn't magnify, zoom in, or offer any special vision capabilities. Everything appeared normal. However, when he turned toward his Haunter, something extraordinary happened. At this time, Haunter floated quietly in place, its large eyes watching Kai intently. Its body shimmered faintly, appearing semi-transparent though it didn't fully manifest. However, through the pair of binoculars in Kai's hands, Haunter's appearance was vividly clear. Even its faintly missing parts were now visible with striking detail. Kai lowered the binoculars, and Haunter's appearance returned to normal, leaving him stunned. Why are you looking at me like that? Haunter asked curiously. Kai replied, your body is invisible without these binoculars, but I can see you perfectly with them. Haunter looked surprised. What? These glasses are that powerful? Kai nodded thoughtfully. If I'm not mistaken, this must be the Sylph Scope. The Sylph Scope? What's that? As Erika and Sabrina approached, Kai explained. It's a high-tech device created by the Sylph Company. It allows the user to see things the naked eye can't, like invisible ghost Pokémon. It can see through smoke screens, detect hidden enemies, and even reveal psychic energy fluctuations in the air. That's incredible, Haunter exclaimed. Kai turned toward Sabrina, his expression serious. This could very well be loot stolen by Team Rocket from the Sylph Company during their last raid. Sabrina surveyed the lab with a discerning gaze, her expression calm but sharp. If that's the case, they're probably trying to reverse engineer it for mass production. Kai was about to reply when the door to the R&D lab suddenly burst open. Several figures stormed in, their faces familiar. Dressed in berets and black uniforms, they were members of the elite rocket strike force that had previously tangled with Kai. At their forefront was the burly, one-eyed Commander Gozu. You damn pests! Gozu bellowed, his one good eye narrowing as he locked onto Kai and Looker, breaking in here again. This time, without those 2 idiots from before, I'll crush you for good.
The sight of Gozu made Looker wince, the memory of his previous injuries still fresh. He clenched his fists and shouted, Gozu, you coward. You'll pay for your sneak attack last time. This time, I'll make sure Team Rocket is finished.
As the two exchanged heated words, their Pokémon leapt into action. On both sides, the air filled with battle cries and the flash of attacks. Kai tucked the Sylph Scope into his backpack and prepared to command Haunter to join the fray, but Looker stopped him. We can't all get caught up here, Looker said firmly. You and the others need to move on. Don't let them destroy any more data. You're suggesting we split up again, Kai frowned. If we keep dividing our forces, we'll lose our advantage. Kai preferred sticking together as a unit to ensure everyone's safety. However, he understood that Looker, as an international officer, prioritized completing the mission above all else. Don't worry, Looker said with a forced smile, trying to seem nonchalant. I'll meet up with you after I take care of these guys. Alright, I'm counting on you, Kai replied reluctantly. Seeing them preparing to leave, Gozu yelled furiously. Trying to escape? None of you are getting away. Aggron, use Head Smash. With heavy, resounding steps, Aggron charged toward Kai and the others. Before it could connect, Sabrina stepped forward, her eyes glowing as she used her psychic powers to halt the massive Pokémon mid-charge. I'll stay and help, Looker, Sabrina said without turning her head. You two, keep moving! The situation reminded Kai of the events at the Sylph Co. building. Without hesitation, he and Erica made their way through the back exit, leaving the fight behind. Navigating through a long corridor, they reached the core area of the base, where an elevator stood waiting. Kai pressed the button, but the elevator didn't budge. Erica pointed to a card slot on the control panel. Looks like we need a key card to activate it. Let's find another way. The two pressed onward, passing through several rooms before entering what appeared to be the base's cafeteria. They stopped abruptly, not because of the rows of dining tables, but because two figures were seated at the far end of the room. Though they were calmly eating, it was clear from their demeanor that they had been waiting for this encounter. One of them was Ariana, the Rocket executive Kai had previously faced at the Sylph Co. The man beside her, dressed in the same white Team Rocket uniform, had sharp features and short blue hair. Finishing his meal, the man dabbed his mouth with a napkin and slowly stood up. His piercing gaze settled on Kai. So, you're the one who caused all that trouble, the man said coldly. Unfortunately for you, this is where your journey ends. The walls around them suddenly burst apart, and a massive, Godzilla-like Pokémon charged forward. The Tyranitar slammed into Erica, who staggered backwards before Kai caught her just in time. Blood trickled from the corner of her mouth as she grimaced. That's a Tyranitar, she murmured, her tone grave. Kai gently set her down and stepped protectively in front of her. Looks like one more intro is coming, he mocked. The man stepped forward, a cold smile on his face. I'm Archer, one of Team Rocket's 4 executives. Like Ariana, Petrol, Lambda, and Proton, I'm here to ensure you go no further.
Ariana smirked. Take off your ridiculous mask. Do you really think it can hide your identity from me?
As she spoke, she released her Arbok and Honchkrow. Maybe you should remove your makeup first and show us your real face. Kai taunted. Kai realized there was no avoiding the battle. With a flick of his wrist, he tossed his Pokeballs into the air. In flashes of light, Kirlia, Jolteon, Charmeleon, Wartortle, and Ivysaur appeared, taking defensive positions around him. On Erica's side, her Vileplume and Executor readied themselves for battle. Grab! With a roar from Tyranitar, the two sides clashed in a storm of moves, the battle beginning in earnest. Seeing the scene becoming increasingly chaotic, Kai quickly issued commands to reorganize the battlefield. Kirlia, Charmeleon, take on Murkrow. Jolteon, Wartortle, handle Arbok. Ivysaur, team up with Executor and Vileplume to take down Tyranitar. Hearing his orders, the Pokémon promptly adjusted their tactics. Meanwhile, Kai turned to Haunter and commanded, Haunter, take them out one by one. Got it. Haunter disappeared from sight, only to reappear near Arbok. The Arbok, twisting its body, narrowly avoided a flamethrower attack before countering with a burst of acid, splashing it toward its two opponents. Charmeleon couldn't dodge in time, but Kirlia teleported them to safety. Meanwhile, Haunter silently emerged behind Arbok, catching it off guard. Arbok, look out behind you, Ariana yelled. But it was too late. Haunter unleashed a Shadow Ball at point-blank range, slamming into Arbok and leaving it stunned. Without hesitation, Haunter licked Arbok's face with its ethereal tongue, inflicting paralysis. Now's our chance, Kai shouted. Kirlia used Magical Leaf, Charmeleon Fire Fang. The synchronized attacks landed, and Arbok collapsed, unable to battle further. Excellent work. Kai turned to focus on the Murkrow next, but Archer's voice cut through the den. Tyranitar used Dark Pulse. Tyranitar opened its maw and unleashed a wave of dark energy, accompanied by multiple shadowy orbs, targeting not just the Pokémon, but also Kai and Erica. The Executor managed to deflect part of the attack with Psychic, but the remaining force surged toward Erica. Watch out! Kai leapt forward, pushing Erica to the ground just as the blast struck. While they shared the brunt of the impact, they rolled together, landing a few meters away. Kai felt his limbs burn from the bruises and scrapes, and his mask was knocked aside. Erica, pale but unharmed, looked up at him with gratitude. "Thank you," she said softly. Though her delicate form rested against him momentarily, Kai hurriedly said, "This isn't the time for that. Let's make sure it doesn't happen again." Erica nodded and quickly got up, resuming commands for her Pokémon to counterattack. When Kai donned his mask again, Haunter had already defeated Ariana's Murkrow. However, Archer's Tyranitar was proving a formidable foe, shrugging off several attacks. The situation worsened when Archer released a second Pokémon, a Magmortar, its body ablaze like a living fireball. "Magmortar," Kai murmured. The fire type posed a significant threat to Erica's Pokémon. Noticing Kai's hand hovering near a special Pokeball on his belt, Erica whispered, "If you've got a trump card, now's the time to use it. Don't hold back." Kai hesitated, ready to release Zapdos, but the sound of shattering glass interrupted him. A man with fiery red hair and a black cloak leapt through the broken window. "I am here." Looks like I arrived just in time. It was Lance. Archer scowled. "Lance, so even you decided to join this operation?" Lance waved casually. "Come on, Archer. We've clashed plenty of times before. Don't act so surprised." As he spoke, his Dragonite burst through the window and slammed into Tyranitar, pinning it against the far wall. Kai relaxed slightly and asked Mr. Lance, "What's the status outside?" Lance gave him an assuring nod. "The Interpol and SWAT teams have breached the base. They're sweeping through the floors as we speak. These guys won't hold out much longer." Realizing the tide had turned, Archer and Ariana exchanged a quick glance before recalling their Pokémon. Without a word, they retreated through a concealed passage. "They're escaping." Kai exhaled deeply, finally lowering his guard. Around him, the sounds of combat and chaos began to subside as the police secured the base, leaving Haunter and Curlia at his side. Kai made his way out of the cafeteria. The corridors were now swarming with SWAT officers detaining or chasing down Team Rocket grunts. Noticing familiar faces, Kai approached the new Erica, Sabrina, and Looker, who were regrouping with Agatha. Looking at Lance, Kai asked, "What about the True Bird unit?" Before Lance could reply, Looker interjected, "They pulled back." Once they realized the SWAT team had entered the base, they retreated on their own. Kai frowned. "So, he didn't catch them this time either?" Looker sighed. "Yeah, it's their hideout after all, full of traps and escape routes. Capturing them was always going to be a long shot." As the group pushed deeper into the base, they secured the second and third underground levels without much resistance. However, upon reaching the fourth basement level, they encountered an unexpected scene. A man in a tailored suit sat calmly on a plush sofa in the center of the expansive underground hall, his gaze fixed intently on the intruders. "I've been expecting you." "Giovanni!" Everyone froze in shock, immediately tensing and assuming defensive postures. "What's going on?" Kai whispered to Looker. "Why is he here? Didn't you confirm that he was still at the Viridian Gym? And didn't you already send Bruno and Lorelei to deal with him?" Looker hesitated before responding. "I don't know either. Giovanni's movements have always been erratic. Maybe Bruno and Lorelei missed him. But since he's shown up here, this saves us the trouble. We can capture him directly." Behind Giovanni stood 4 Team Rocket executives, Archer, Ariana, Proton, and Petro. Despite the tense situation, none of them showed any signs of panic. Looker stepped forward, locking eyes with Giovanni. Giovanni, you are charged with kidnapping, sabotage, and multiple acts of terrorism. Under international security law, I hereby place you under arrest." "Talk no jutsu won't work on him," Kai murmured. Giovanni glanced at him, his voice calm and dismissive. The exposure of this base was only a matter of time. "I'm not surprised you found it. What has surprised me is your speed, several years faster than I anticipated. It seems the Interpol aren't entirely incompetent." "Enough talk." Looker's tone grew firm. "The destruction of Team Rocket is inevitable. Surrender now, or do you still plan to resist?" Giovanni slowly rose from the sofa. "Do you think taking one of my bases means you've won?" "What do you mean?" Looker gestured to the others behind him. "We've mobilized so many people today. Even Lance and Agatha are here. Do you still think you can escape?" Lance's expression was pained as he addressed Giovanni. "Mr. Giovanni, I once thought you were an honorable man. But now, it seems I was gravely mistaken." Agatha sighed deeply. "Giovanni, we've known each other for years, but I never imagined you'd be hiding such an identity." Humans are often deceived by appearances, failing to see the truth beneath the surface. How could you ever hope to understand the real me? Giovanni's tone was as cold and unyielding as his demeanor. Enough of this nonsense. Looker snapped. Giovanni, the strongest trainers and Pokémon in Kanto are here. If you're smart, you'll surrender now. The strongest? Giovanni sneered. What a laughable notion. You fools have no idea what true power is. Allow me to show you what the strongest Pokémon looks like. As Giovanni spoke, a crimson glow illuminated the dark corridor behind him. Out of the shadows emerged a humanoid Pokémon clad in sleek armor and wearing a helmet. His appearance was concealed by its armor, revealing only silver-white, feline-like legs and a long, thick purple tail. The Pokémon hovered effortlessly, its psychic power palpable in the air. What kind of Pokémon is that? Gasped Lance and Agatha, both astonished despite their vast experience. Kai, however, remained calm, his gaze steady. He knew exactly what this Pokémon was. It was Mewtwo. At this point, it was still under Giovanni's control. Do you think one Pokémon is enough to stop us? Looker declared, sending out his Toxicroak and Growlithe. The two Pokémon immediately launched their attacks. Toxicroak unleashed a volley of poison stings, while Growlithe fired a stream of flames. However, before the attacks could land, Mewtwo raised its arm. Both the poison sting and flamethrower halted mid-air, encased in shimmering blue light. With a simple gesture, Mewtwo redirected the attacks, sending them hurtling back at the two Pokémon, slamming them into the wall. Boom! Both Toxicroak and Growlithe collapsed to the ground. The sheer power of Mewtwo's counterattack stunned everyone into silence. Lance nodded to his Dragonite, while Agatha sent out her Gengar. The two Pokémon charged at Mewtwo from opposite directions. Gengar hurled a Shadow Ball, while Dragonite lunged forward with its wings extended for a direct strike. But just as their moves were about to connect, Mewtwo vanished in an instant, only to reappear behind them. With a wave of its arms, both Dragonite and Gengar were caught in its psychic grip, and slammed into the ground. Just as I expected, Looker muttered grimly. Everyone, attack together. Gym leader Sabrina and Erica stepped forward, sending out their Pokémon. As Looker's Toxicroak and Growlithe recovered and rejoined the fray, the battle escalated. Pokémon attacks flew in all directions, shaking the underground facility with their intensity. Ghost Pokémon Haunter turned to Kai and hesitated. Shouldn't we jump in too? Kai hesitated, his expression thoughtful. Giovanni and his executives showed no signs of concern. They didn't attempt to flee or send out additional Pokémon. Their calmness suggested absolute confidence in Mewtwo's strength. As Kai considered the situation, a voice echoed in his mind in a strange, neutral tone. You know my name? Startled, Kai looked around, realizing the voice was telepathic. It was Mewtwo speaking directly to him. Despite its fierce battle, Mewtwo seemed to focus on him. You truly know my name. Who are you? Mewtwo's voice pressed deeper into Kai's thoughts. Before Kai could respond, a sudden wave of psychic energy surged through him. Memories flooded his mind as if someone or something was rifling through his life. Corlia, Kai shouted urgently. His cry startled Sabrina, Erica, and Haunter nearby. Without hesitation, Kai extended his hand toward Corellia, who immediately teleported to his side. The psychic Pokémon wrapped its glowing hands around Kai's, amplifying his own psychic resistance. The blue aura of Corellia's psychic power enveloped Kai, shielding his mind and heart. Thanks to Corellia's intervention, Kai finally broke free from Mewtwo's telepathic intrusion. No longer hearing its voice in his head, he exhaled in relief. However, as he glanced at Mewtwo again, his expression turned wary. He couldn't shake the unease of not knowing how much of his thoughts and memories Mewtwo had glimpsed in that brief encounter. On the battlefield, Mewtwo, who had been effortlessly overpowering all challengers, suddenly froze midair. Its body remained suspended, motionless, except for its thick purple tail, which writhed in agitation as though reflecting its inner turmoil. This unexpected shift caused Lance, Agatha, Looker, and the other officers to tense up, watching with uncertainty. None of them dared to issue an attack command. Their Pokémon, exhausted and breathing heavily, paused as well, awaiting orders. Giovanni narrowed his eyes as he observed Mewtwo's behavior. This wasn't the first time Mewtwo had reacted like this. Giovanni recalled a similar moment in the laboratory during its creation, when Mewtwo had questioned its existence and purpose. That moment of introspection had unleashed a devastating rage, reducing the entire island to ruins. Now, seeing this behavior again, Giovanni couldn't help but recall that inferno of destruction. What are you doing? Defeat them. You need to master your power, otherwise you'll bring only devastation to this world. Giovanni's commanding voice echoed through the hall, but Mewtwo showed no response. Giovanni's expression darkened. Realizing the precarious situation, he exchanged a glance with his executives, Archer, Ariana, Proton, and Petrel, before casually walking toward the elevator. "Giovanni, where are you going?" Looker shouted, his voice echoing in desperation. Giovanni ignored him, producing a key card to activate the elevator. The doors opened slowly, revealing a shadowed interior. "Stop him! Don't let him escape!" Looker shouted, directing his Pokémon. Toxicroak Growleaf, block the elevator. But before the Pokémon could act, Mewtwo erupted in a burst of dazzling blue light. The resulting shockwave blasted through the room, sending strong winds howling in all directions. Everyone was knocked off their feet, shielding their eyes against the force. When the light dimmed, they saw Mewtwo levitating upwards, looking towards Kai and crashing through several layers of the ceiling before vanishing into the night. The remnants of Mewtwo's armor scattered across the floor, but its true form remained unseen. "It's gone," Lance murmured, gazing up at the gaping hole in the ceiling. Why would it flee like that, abandoning its trainer? "Giovanni!" Looker snapped, turning back toward the elevator, only to see the doors closing. Giovanni's face, shadowed but resolute, was visible for a moment before disappearing from view. "After him," Looker shouted. Realizing the elevator couldn't be stopped, he and his team rushed toward the stairs in pursuit, but the odds of catching Giovanni seemed slim. Later, Kai returned to Vermilion City, his body and mind weighed down by the events of the past few days. Between battling Team Rocket and the encounter with Mewtwo, he was thoroughly exhausted. Deciding to take a short break, he spent some time training his Pokémon at Vermilion Park. Charmeleon used Flamethrower, Jolteon dodge encounter with Thunderfang. Reclining on a rocking chair, Kai issued commands to his Pokémon as they sparred. Meanwhile, Chloe sat nearby, brushing Curlia's hair with a wooden comb. "You're way too laid back," she teased, watching his relaxed demeanor. "How are your Pokémon supposed to improve if you're barely paying attention?" He chuckled. "They're training each other. Teamwork builds strength. Besides, it's not like I have other trainers around to help." Chloe smirked. "Didn't you always say traveling was the best way to grow stronger? Why the sudden urge to rest?" Stretching, Kai gazed at the sky. "Even trainers need to recharge. Taking a break now helps me prepare for whatever comes next." "Oh, speaking of traveling," Chloe said, pulling out her phone, "you've got to see this." She showed Kai a video of a battle, the footage from his clash with the giant Tentacruel at Vermilion Harbor. Though blurry, the video had been filtered to emphasize the intensity of the battle, making it appear even more dramatic. Kai leaned closer, watching intently. "This looks incredible! The Zapdos look amazing! What power, what precision!" At his waist, the Pokeball containing Zapdos quivered slightly, as if pleased by the praise. Chloe nodded. "It's been going viral. Everyone in my class is obsessed with this video. They think the trainer's battle style is awesome, but..." She paused, stifling a laugh. "But?" Kai asked, sensing trouble. "They think the trainer's outfit is awful, that raincoat and mask combo, yikes." "Awful?" Kai groaned, slumping in his chair. "It's not awful, it's mysterious. The cloak and Gengar mask give off a sense of intrigue." Chloe laughed harder. "Sure, if mystery means looking like a walking disaster." Chloe was about to speak, but Kai's phone suddenly rang. She chose to remain silent, squatting on the ground with her chin resting on her hands, smiling at him as she waited for him to finish the call. Kai glanced at the screen. It was Sabrina calling. "Hello," he answered, skipping pleasantries and getting straight to the point. "How did it go?" On the other end, Sabrina's voice remained cold and direct. "I've handed the Sylph Scope to Mr. Sylph. He expressed his heartfelt gratitude for retrieving it from Team Rocket." Kai had expected more. When Sabrina paused, he couldn't help but raise an eyebrow and ask, "Huh? That's it?" Sabrina chuckled faintly. "What's wrong? Disappointed?" "Of course," Kai admitted without hesitation. "Considering I got it back from Team Rocket, I thought he might reward me with another Master Ball." "Another Master Ball?" Sabrina laughed softly. "Do you think Master Balls are as common as the Pokeballs sold in every Pokemart?" I know they're rare, Kai replied, but humans are greedy creatures. We always fantasize about getting things we can't have. Whether Kai's words amused her or not, Sabrina fell silent for a moment. Then, with a hint of mischief in her tone, she said, "All right, I won't tease you anymore. Actually, Mr. Sylph knows you're planning to continue your journey, so he had the Sylph Scope modified to attach to your mask." Mask? What mask? Chloe's ears perked up at the mention. Her curiosity piqued. "Wait, he gave me the Sylph Scope?" Kai exclaimed, lowering his voice when he noticed Chloe eavesdropping. Turning away slightly, he muttered, Well, thanks to you and Mr. Sylph, I'll leave it with you for now. I'll pick it up when I swing by Saffron City." That afternoon, Kai returned to the Cerise laboratory, but he didn't remain idle. Instead, he assisted Professor Cerise and his team with their research. In addition to Professor Cerise, Renji and Krisa taught him a lot, including how to write observation notes, use basic equipment, and analyze data. They truly treated him as a part of their team. Taking advantage of this, Kai studied diligently, asking questions and soaking up every bit of Pokemon-related knowledge he could. Before long, Monday arrived. As Chloe returned to school, Kai set off on a new journey, this time heading toward Fuchsia City, home to the Fuchsia Gym. The direct distance between Fuchsia City and Vermilion City wasn't far, but with a sea separating them, Kai had only two options. The first was a long overland route heading east from Vermilion City, through dense mountains, and then south along the coast. However, this route was time-consuming and exhausting, covering over 10 times the direct distance. The second option was to take a cruise and cross the sea directly. But Kai decided to try something new. "Come out, Gyarados!" As the Pokeball opened, the sea rippled, and a massive Gyarados emerged, its dragon-like head towering over the waves. Kai leapt onto its back, landing firmly. Ever since arriving in this world, he had dreamed of traveling across the sea on a water-type Pokemon. This was the perfect chance to fulfill that wish. With a joyful cheer, Kai pointed in the direction of Fuchsia City, and Gyarados swam rapidly across the shimmering sea. The endless expanse of blue, the bright sky, and the occasional Pokemon leaping from the water made the journey exhilarating. Even the salty sea breeze felt refreshing. However, as time passed, even the most beautiful scenery grew monotonous. Just as Kai was beginning to feel bored, a sudden strong wind snapped him to attention. In the distance, he spotted a violent storm rolling toward him. "Seriously? Why do I always run into storms at sea?" Kai muttered, sighing. He quickly instructed Gyarados to change course, but the storm moved too fast, overtaking them within minutes. The fierce wind stung his eyes, and the torrential rain drenched him instantly. As he considered switching to Zapdos to escape by air, massive waves began battering them. No matter how strong, both humans and Pokemon were helpless against the raw power of nature. Gyarados struggled to stay afloat, its massive body tossed about by the waves. Kai clung to its neck with one hand while reaching for a great ball on his belt with the other. Before he could act, several Pokemon appeared in the sky, their round yellow bodies unmistakable, even in the storm. Dragonite. The Dragonite seemed unaffected by the raging winds, their presence glowing against the stormy backdrop. One of them swooped down and, without a word, grabbed Kai in its claws. "Wait, what's going on?" Kai exclaimed, hurriedly recalling Gyarados to its Pokeball. Despite his confusion, he sensed no malice from the Dragonite and allowed them to carry him away. The Dragonite flew steadily, cutting through the storm. Eventually, they emerged into calm skies, revealing a breathtaking sight below a lush green island surrounded by a ring of storm clouds. Kai's eyes widened in recognition. Could this be Dragonite Island? When the Dragonite landed, Kai stepped onto the soft sand and looked around. The Dragonites surrounded him, their expressions brimming with pride as if waiting for his approval. Their expectant gazes reminded Kai of children eager for praise after doing a good deed. Okay, he muttered, coughing lightly before giving them a nod. "Thanks for rescuing me from the storm, even though I didn't need it." Being brought to the island by Dragonite wasn't entirely unexpected. After all, whether it was Ash and Go during their journeys or other stranded sailors, Dragonites have always been known to rescue those in need. Jiruga, our new member. Hearing Kai's thanks, the Dragonites around him squinted their eyes and let out cheerful cries. Dragonites are naturally kind-hearted Pokemon. When they find ships in distress, they guide them to safety. Known for their immense strength and speed, it's said that Dragonite can circle the globe in just 16 hours, making them one of the fastest flying Pokemon in the world. As Kai appeared unharmed, the Dragonites gradually dispersed. They left him alone on the island, showing no signs of monitoring his actions. Their lack of concern about him potentially causing trouble was a testament to their trusting nature. Kai shook his head in mild exasperation. With a temperament like this, it's no wonder their habitats are dwindling. And wild Dragonite sightings are so rare nowadays, he muttered. It's almost impossible to find Dragonite living in the wild anymore. Looking deeper into the island, Kai noticed that, besides the Dragonite, the forest was also home to many of their pre-evolved forms, Dratini and Dragonair. These Pokémon roamed freely, foraging for berries and enjoying a carefree life. Pulling out his phone, Kai wasn't surprised to find there was no signal. He snapped a few photos of the idyllic scene for his collection, shook off the raindrops still clinging to him, and headed toward the heart of the island. As he walked, Haunter emerged from his shadow, intrigued by the sight of Dratini and Dragonair around them. Dratini and Dragonair are so sleek and elegant. Haunter commented, but why did they turn chubby and orange after evolving into Dragonite? Kai chuckled. It's not that strange. This world doesn't always follow logic. To be honest, I think Melodic looks more like it could be the final evolution of Dratini and Dragonair. Haunter's eyes widened. Huh? What makes you say that? It's not just about their appearance or size, Kai explained. Have you heard of the Marvel Scale ability? Haunter shook his head. Nope, what's that? Kai smiled knowingly. Pokémon with the Marvel Scale ability gain increased defense when affected by a status condition. It's an extremely rare trait. Across all Pokémon, only Dratini, Dragonair, and Melodic have this ability. Doesn't that suggest a connection between them? Haunter grinned. Interesting theory, I can see it now. With that, Kai continued exploring, eventually finding himself at the base of a waterfall. The cascading river formed a crystal-clear lake below, surrounded by smooth rocks. Many Dratini had gathered there, playing, resting, and chasing one another. It appeared to be their nesting area. Seeing Kai and Haunter, the Dratini approached curiously. Although naturally shy, they seemed bolder when gathered in such numbers in their familiar territory. Kai grinned. All right, everyone, come out and join the fun. He released his Pokémon from their Pokéballs, including Zapdos. The sight of such unique Pokémon excited the Dratini, who began circling them in delight. Kai's Pokémon, equally playful, joined in on the games. Amid the cheerful chaos, Kai noticed a lone Dratini curled up in the corner. It looked on with a mix of envy and apprehension, its eyes betraying its hesitation. Haunter noticed as well. Why is that Dratini sitting there by itself? Do you think it's being excluded by the others? Kai frowned. It doesn't look like it's being excluded. It seems afraid of me. He approached cautiously, but as he drew near, the Dratini retreated further. Sighing, Kai decided not to push it and stepped back. The sound of footsteps caught his attention, and several Dragonites approached from the distance. They nodded in approval at the sight of the playful Dratini, and even cast friendly glances toward Kai. Haunter, Kai said, can you ask them what's going on with that Dratini? Haunter floated over to speak with the Dragonite. After a brief exchange, it returned to Kai with a somber expression. Turns out it's a sad story, Haunter said. That Dratini's mother left the island a while ago and never returned. Since then, it's become withdrawn and refuses to interact with the others or leave the nest. Kai's heart sank. Did something happen to its mother? Not exactly, Haunter replied. Apparently, its mother ran off with a trainer's Dragonite to get some milk. One of the Dragonites here spotted her a few months ago, and she seemed to be living a happy life. Kai blinked in disbelief. She abandoned her child to elope with someone else's Dragonite? That's not what I expected. He glanced back at the solitary Dratini, his heart aching. Despite knowing its mother was alive, the Dratini's situation seemed even more pitiful. Kai reached into his bag and pulled out a can of Pokemon food. Walking carefully toward the Dratini, he opened the lid, letting the delicious aroma waft through the air. Hey, don't be afraid. This food's really tasty. Give it a try, Kai said gently. The Dratini sniffed the air, and its stomach growled audibly. Hesitating for a moment, it crept closer, snatched the can, and darted back to its corner to eat. Kai smiled softly. I don't know how to comfort you, little one, but life is unpredictable. At least your mother is happy now, even if she isn't here with you. That has to count for something, right? The Dratini was so absorbed in eating that it hardly seemed to notice the words around it. In truth, a long time had passed since its mother left. Although it still thought of her occasionally, the trauma was slowly healing, and it was no longer as heartbroken as it had been at the start. After licking the can clean, it looked at Kai with an eager expression. Seeing this, Kai quickly pulled out a second can and handed it over. Here, eat as much as you want. This time, the Dratini seemed a little bolder. It cautiously approached Kai, took the can, and started eating again. Kai couldn't help but feel amazed as he watched it finish the second can as effortlessly as the first. For such a small body, it sure has a huge appetite, he mused. It probably eats as much as 2 Wartortle combined. At that moment, Haunter glanced at the sky and remarked, "It's getting late, we've been here for too long, shouldn't we leave?" Kai nodded, called his Pokemon together, and prepared to ride away on Zapdos. But as he started to leave, the Dratini stared at him for a long time and then hurriedly followed, letting out a series of soft cries. "Huh?" Haunter said curiously. "It looks like it wants to come with us." "Come with us?" Kai was pleasantly surprised. As the pre-evolution of Dragonite, one of the rarest and most powerful Dragon-type Pokemon, Dratini was incredibly special. Before arriving on this island, Kai had always dreamed of catching a Dragonite, but after seeing how peacefully the Dragonite family lived here, he hadn't wanted to disturb their tranquility. The idea of taming one had left his mind entirely. Yet now, here was a little Dratini wanting to leave with him of its own accord. "Hey, Haunter," Kai said with a grin. "Do you think it's following me just because it wants more canned food?" "You might be onto something," Haunter replied, rolling its eyes. "It's probably sick of eating berries all the time. Your backpack must look like a bottomless pit of delicious meals. As long as it sticks with you, it'll get to feast on new flavors every day." "Mother left for milk. It is leaving the island for canned food," Kai chuckled. Regardless of the reason, he was thrilled to have the chance to bond with such a rare Pokemon so easily. He glanced at the nearby Dragonite, who seemed to show no objections, if anything. They appeared relieved. "Durgrai. We approve." Taking that as approval, Kai squatted down and pulled an empty Pokeball from his bag. "Are you sure about this?" he asked the Dratini seriously. "If you come with me, it might be a long, long time before you return here." But the Dratini, entirely focused on the Pokeball, seemed to think it was something edible. It moved forward and tapped its nose against the button. In a flash of red light, it was drawn into the Pokeball. The ball shook briefly, then clicked shut. Kai sighed with a smile. "What a little foodie," he muttered. Still, he couldn't help but feel a sense of accomplishment. After so much traveling, he had finally caught his 8th Pokemon. Riding on Zapdos, Kai soared through the air, passing through the circular storm surrounding Dragonite Island and leaving it behind. When his phone signal returned, he checked his position and set a course for Fuchsia City. The high-altitude winds were freezing and nearly took his breath away. To ease the strain, he patted Zapdos on the back, signaling it to descend. As they flew lower, the air became more bearable, and the sea beneath them sparkled in the sunlight. After traveling a considerable distance, Kai decided to avoid detection by switching to Gyarados and continuing the journey across the water. Riding the massive sea Pokemon, he eventually reached the shoreline. Fuchsia City, with its pinkish hue and serene beauty, lay ahead. Known as a key city in the southwestern Kanto region, its most famous attractions included the Fuchsia Gym and the Safari Zone, a vast nature reserve where trainers could catch Pokemon for a small fee. In the Safari Zone, visitors were given 30 Safari Balls and could catch Pokemon without battling. This opportunity drew countless people, especially those hoping to capture their very first Pokemon. However, Kai had no interest in the Safari Zone. He already had a strong team and no targets left in this area. After a brief glance at the reserve, he moved on, heading straight for Fuchsia Gym. Fuchsia City's urban area, filled with high-rise buildings, gave way to rugged mountain roads as Kai followed his map to the gym. Unlike other gyms located within city limits, Fuchsia Gym was hidden deep in the mountains, a tradition tied to its leader's ninja heritage. The journey was exhausting. Kai crossed streams, climbed slopes, and even balanced on narrow bridges. In the dense forest, wild Pokemon peeked out curiously from behind the trees. Seeing Kai struggle with the terrain, Haunter offered, "Want me to give you a lift with Psychic or something?" Kai shook his head. "No, thanks. As tiring as this is, it's good exercise." Haunter frowned. "I don't get it. Why build a gym so far out? It's supposed to be a place where trainers can battle for badges, but just getting here feels like a test in itself. By the time we arrive, I'll bet half the challengers are too exhausted to fight." Kai adjusted his backpack and replied, The Fuchsia Gym leader, Koga, is not only a master of poison-type Pokémon, but also a ninja. His family has a long history of practicing in secret, so they value this isolation. Reaching the gym is part of the challenge. After another 10 minutes of hiking, they finally reached a high ridge. From there, Kai could see a sprawling, elegant compound nestled on the other side of a cliff. The simple yet sophisticated design of the gym stood out. All the buildings were connected by long, narrow corridors, forming a seamless structure that blended perfectly with the surrounding nature. Kai exhaled in relief. Finally, he muttered, "Let's see if this ninja gym lives up to its reputation." Crossing the long suspension bridge, Kai walked up to the closed main entrance of the Fuchsia Gym. He was about to use the door knocker when, without warning, the two wooden doors swung open on their own. Looking into the courtyard, Kai saw no one behind the doors, neither staff to greet him nor any Pokémon present. Was some sort of mechanism triggered? "Excuse me, is anyone here?" Kai called out loudly. His voice echoed through the courtyard, but after waiting a long time, there was still no response. The area was eerily silent, almost oppressive, as though the air itself was thick with tension and hidden danger. Mysterious. Is this really a ninja's domain? Haunter murmured, intrigued. Known for its mischievous and playful nature, Haunter thrived in spooky, unconventional places like haunted houses or ancient cemeteries. Maybe this is a test, Kai thought aloud. Without further hesitation, he stepped into the gym. Following a gravel path, he soon reached the entrance of the main building. However, just as he stepped onto the floor, the Fuchsia Gym delivered its first surprise. The ground beneath him abruptly shifted, the floor tilting steeply to create a smooth, slippery incline. Kai, anticipating traps, reacted swiftly, grabbing hold of a nearby pillar to steady himself. He glanced down to see that beneath the rotating floor lay a worn and uneven stone surface, likely weathered from years of careless trainers falling prey to this trap. To ensure his safety, Kai released Kirlilia from her Pokeball. Her psychic abilities would help her handle any unexpected hazards. Regaining his composure, Kai entered the main hallway again. Past a screen adorned with bamboo, he found himself in a dimly lit corridor. At the end of the corridor were two branching paths, one to the left and one to the right. Both paths seemed ordinary, but in this mysterious ninja gym, traps were likely waiting at every turn. Kai knew he had to tread carefully. After a brief deliberation, he decided to follow his instincts, and chose the left path. The wooden floor creaked beneath his steps, and after only a dozen steps, the ground suddenly gave way. A hidden pit opened beneath him. Fortunately, Kirlia's psychic abilities enveloped Kai in a protective aura, gently lifting him to safety on solid ground. "Nice work, Kirlia," Kai phrased, patting her head affectionately. Peering into the pit, he saw nothing sharp or deadly, just smooth walls and a deep drop that would make climbing out impossible for anyone who fell. "So this is meant to teach careless trainers a lesson," Kai mused, appreciating the thoughtfulness behind the trap's design. He pressed onward. The once flat floor began to slope upward slightly. Sensing something amiss, Kai gestured to Haunter to scout ahead. Before Haunter could move, a sound echoed down the corridor, a faint click, followed by a mechanical rumble. The ceiling above cracked open, and a massive boulder perfectly sized to the width of the corridor came crashing down. The enormous rock, gathering speed as it rolled downhill, barreled straight toward Kai. "Kirlia," Kai shouted. Kirlia quickly used Psychic to stop the boulder's momentum. With her assistance, Kai retreated to safety behind the earlier pit. As Kirlia released her hold, the boulder fell into the pit with a heavy thud. If someone else had faced this, without superpowers or a powerful Pokémon, this trap could have crushed them entirely. "This trap feels a bit too dangerous," Kai muttered under his breath. Before he could relax, the faint sound of footsteps echoed again, this time retreating quickly down the corridor. "Haunter, follow them!" Kai ordered. Haunter phased through the wall, his eerie laughter echoing from the other side. Moments later, a piercing scream split the air. "Oh!" Suddenly, the wall in front of Kai flipped around, and a girl stumbled out, nearly falling. She wore a traditional ninja jumpsuit in black, complemented by a pink and red cape. Her purple hair was tied in an enormous ponytail. The girl coughed awkwardly, clearly flustered. "Well, it seems my training still needs some work, if you found me so easily." Kai raised an eyebrow, unfamiliar with her. "Sorry for entering the gym, unannounced. I'm here to challenge the gym leader, Koga. Is he here?" The girl crossed her arms and smirked. If you want to challenge my father, you'll have to get past me first. Father? That's right. My name is Janine, and I'm Koga's daughter, she said, sizing Kai up. Follow me. I'll take you to the battlefield. Janine led Kai through several more traps before they reached a simple battlefield inside a spacious room. The arena's floor was made entirely of wood, an odd choice given how easily fire, ground, or rock-type moves could destroy it. Kai stood on one side of the field with Janine opposite him. She gestured to a door behind her. Defeat me, and you can pass through that door, she said, her tone serious. Understood, Kai replied calmly. What are the battle rules? 1-on-1. The first Pokemon to faint loses, Janine declared, tossing out a Pokeball. Let's go, Crobat. A purple bat-like Pokemon with 2 pairs of wings appeared, flapping energetically. Kai turned to Haunter. You've never fought a gym battle before. Want to give it a try? Haunter grinned mischievously, floating onto the battlefield. Forget it. Haunter lost interest, shaking his head. Too weak. It's not worth my time. Too weak? Janine, clearly offended, raised her voice. Did you just call me weak? You talking Pokemon? Don't underestimate us. Do you dare to battle my Pokemon and back up those words? Haunter was entirely unfazed, sticking out his long tongue. He teased her. Blah! Nope. I'm not battling. What are you gonna do about it? Janine's face turned red with frustration, and her temper flared. Seeing this, Kai quickly stepped in to diffuse the tension. Apologies. Haunter has a unique personality. Please don't take it personally, Miss Janine. Kai glanced at Janine's Crobat, whose fierce expression showed it was ready for battle. Thinking for a moment, he reached for a Pokeball. Alright, Haunter doesn't want to participate, so I'll send in Jolteon. He tossed the Pokeball, and Jolteon materialized in a flash of light, its spiky fur crackling with electricity. Janine raised an eyebrow. Jolteon, huh? Interesting choice, but no matter who you send out, my Crobat will show you just how strong we are. Both Pokemon stood ready, their eyes locked as the battle began. Janine wasted no time. Crobat, Air Slash. Crobat flapped its powerful wings, sending sharp blades of compressed air hurtling toward Jolteon. Jolteon, dodge it, Kai commanded. Using its exceptional speed, Jolteon easily evaded the attack and countered with Pin Missile, launching a barrage of glowing needles toward Crobat. However, Crobat deftly weaved through the assault, its agility matching Jolteon's speed. Realizing ranged attacks wouldn't work, Janine shifted her strategy. Crobat, use cross poison. Crobat swooped down, with claws glowing, a toxic purple aiming for a direct strike. KA made a quick decision. Jolteon, meet it with Thunder Shock. As Crobat closed in, Jolteon discharged a bolt of electricity, striking Crobat mid-attack. The impact slowed Crobat, but it pushed through and landed its poisonous claws on Jolteon. Both Pokemon took significant damage, but Crobat, being part flying type, suffered more from the electric attack. Janine pressed on. Crobat. Poison Fang. Kai responded in kind. Jolteon. Counter with Thunder Fang. The two Pokemon lunged at each other, their fangs glowing Crobats with venom and Jolteons with electricity. They collided in a fierce clash, biting and clawing in a raw display of power. Both sustained injuries, but soon the aftermath of their attacks became clear. Jolteon was poisoned, its body turning faintly green as the venom took hold. Meanwhile, Crobat was paralyzed, electricity coursing through its body and leaving it unable to move. Kai seized the opportunity. Jolteon, finish this with discharge. Electricity surged through Jolteon's body, building up until it erupted in a blinding flash. Crobat took the full force of the attack and collapsed, unable to continue. Janine sighed, returning Crobat to its Pokeball. I lost. She gave a small, rueful smile. Looks like I underestimated you. Kai smiled politely, walking over to Jolteon with an antidote in hand. Great job out there, Jolteon. He patted its head, administering the antidote. You fought well. Rest now. Returning Jolteon to its Pokeball, he turned back to Janine. Janine stepped aside, gesturing to a door behind her. As I said, if you defeat me, you can proceed. My father Koga awaits further inside. Good luck. Before Kai could respond, Janine disappeared into the shadows with the agility of a true ninja. Why does every gym have to be so complicated? Kai muttered, shaking his head. He turned to Haunter and Curlia. Come on, let's go. The group moved through the wooden door into a dimly lit staircase. Ascending to the second floor, they found themselves in a bright corridor with sunlight streaming in through transom windows. Haunter hovered beside Kai. It looks safe, but in a ninja's lair, you can never be too sure. Watch your step. Kai advanced cautiously, but after several uneventful steps, his hands suddenly pressed against an invisible barrier. Startled, he examined the obstruction and found it to be a thick, transparent glass wall reflecting faint white light in the sunlight. Haunter, effortless, phased through the glass. Need me to break it? Kai shook his head. No need. He turned back toward the stairs, but found another glass wall blocking the way. Both exits were sealed. A memory surfaced. Kai recalled seeing Ash face this exact trap during his challenge at the Fuchsia Gym. Smirking, he walked to the side of the corridor where the wooden walls and transom windows were located. Raising his leg, he aimed for the wall and kicked it hard. Bam! Under Kai's strength, the wooden wall was kicked open like a door panel on a hinge. In the next instant, the entire wooden wall collapsed outward, revealing a sheer cliff behind it. And more than 10 meters below the cliff was a bottomless, rushing river. It was clear that if a trainer got trapped in the corridor and attempted to escape through the transom, this unexpected trap would likely send them plunging into the torrential waters below. Haunter tilted its head curiously. Huh? How did you know there was a mechanism here? Kai smirked. Because there was a very valuable lesson learned by someone else before me. With that, Kai turned and approached another wall. With a firm push, the trapdoor mechanism activated, rotating the wall to reveal an indoor battlefield. Kai stepped through the opening, but as soon as he set foot inside, a flurry of ninja darts flew toward him with incredible speed. The darts roared past him, a few whizzing so close that they brushed his ears, the wind from their speed ruffling his hair. Thud, thud, thud. When the commotion settled, Kai glanced back to find the ninja darts embedded into the trapdoor in the shape of a perfect humanoid outline. The dart thrower clearly had exceptional aim. From above, a woman descended gracefully and landed in front of him. She had long green hair tied in a ponytail, wore a revealing pink ninja uniform, and radiated an air of confidence. Born in darkness, living in shadows, this is the fate of a ninja, she said, in a sultry voice. I am Aya, the kunoichi. Prepare yourself. Despite her dangerous aura, Kai couldn't help but think she exuded a certain flirtatiousness. Her beauty was striking, but her outfit seemed impractical for stealth missions. Perhaps she was the type of ninja who relied on charm to disarm her enemies. It's impressive that you defeated Janine and made it through the traps to get here, Aya said, clapping her hands. And to remain so calm under my ninja darts, you're quite extraordinary. Kai remained stoic. Should I tell her that I didn't even flinch because I couldn't process what happened in time? After all that effort, I thought I'd finally meet the gym leader, Kai remarked dryly. Aya chuckled. If you want to face my brother, you'll have to defeat me first. However, since you just battled Janine, your available Pokémon are now limited to 2. With a whistle, Aya summoned a Pokémon to her side. A fluffy, insect-like creature with compound eyes resembling a fly landed before her. Kai quickly assessed his options. He tapped a Pokeball at his belt, releasing a Pokémon with a favorable matchup. Go, Charmeleon. In a flash of blue light, Charmeleon appeared on the battlefield. It roared confidently, flames flickering on its tail as it sized up its opponent. The battlefield mirrored the one where Kai had faced Janine earlier. Kai briefly wondered if he had somehow returned to the same room. Once both sides were ready, Kai wasted no time issuing a command. Charmeleon, use flamethrower. Charmeleon inhaled deeply, its chest swelling, and unleashed a torrent of flames toward Venonat. Venonat had no chance to dodge. The flames engulfed it, and the super effective hit made it stagger. Aya reacted swiftly. Venonat, use disable. Venonat emitted strange waves of light that enveloped Charmeleon. The effect was immediate. The flamethrower move was sealed temporarily. Now Venonat, use stun spore. Aya commanded. Venonat released a cloud of yellow spores toward Charmeleon. Kai commanded, Charmeleon, use smoke screen. Thick black smoke billowed out, mingling with the spores, but Venonat's compound eyes easily cut through the obscurity. Venonat, leech life, Aya ordered. Venonat darted into the smoke, sinking its fangs into Charmeleon. Kay couldn't see through the smoke, but called out, "Charmeleon Dragon Rage." Even blinded, Charmeleon retaliated with a shockwave that blasted Venonat out of the smoke and onto the floor outside. The smoke dissipated, revealing both Pokemon Venonat struggling to stand and Charmeleon visibly slower due to the paralysis. "Charmeleon, finish it with Fire Fang," Kai commanded. Charmeleon's fangs ignited as it charged forward, but the paralysis took effect, halting its movement mid-step. Aya seized the moment. "Venonat, use confusion." Psychic energy shot from Venonat's antennae, forcing Kai to think quickly. "Charmeleon, counter with Dragon Rage." The two attacks clashed, briefly holding the battle in balance. Aya smirked. Venonat, leech life again. As Venonat charged forward, Kai's eyes glinted. "Charmeleon, use Flamethrower." Aya's eyes widened. "What? Flamethrower?" Charmeleon, free from Disable's effect, unleashed another blazing inferno that consumed Venonat. The bug Pokemon collapsed, unable to continue. Aya sighed, recalling her Pokemon. "You caught me off guard, I'll admit. I got so caught up in the battle, I forgot Disable's duration was limited." Kai smirked. "Miss Aya, that's where you made a mistake. Thank you for the battle." However, from her expression, it was clear that she was not reconciled to her defeat. At that moment, a smoke bomb suddenly exploded on the battlefield. As thick smoke filled the area, a figure emerged from the dissipating haze, standing beside Aya. This man appeared to be in his 40s, with spiky blue-black hair, wearing a black ninja uniform and a red cape. His serious demeanor immediately commanded attention. "Brother." Seeing the man, Aya quickly half-knelt on the ground. Koga spoke calmly. "Aya, you and your Venonat still have a long way to go." Hearing his words, Aya looked ashamed. "I was too careless earlier. If I hadn't misjudged the timing of my Disable move, I could have—" "Enough," Koga interrupted. "A loss is a loss. No excuses." He then turned his gaze to Kai. "That was an impressive battle. I am Koga, the gym leader of the Fuchsia City Gym." Kai nodded. "It's an honor to meet you, Mr. Koga. My name is Kai, and I'm here to challenge you." Obie and Janine stepped aside, leaving the battlefield to Kai and Koga. Facing Koga, Kai didn't dare to underestimate him. After all, Koga was once promoted to the position of Elite Four in the Kanto and Johto regions, specializing in poison-type Pokemon. Even though this was a standard gym battle, and Koga likely wouldn't use his ace Pokemon, his other Pokemon would still be formidable. Koga declared, "The rules remain the same. Defeat one of my Pokemon to win the challenge. However, since you've already defeated both Aya and Janine, you may now use 3 Pokemon against mine." 3 against 1? Kai nodded in understanding and stepped into position. Koga waved his hand, sending out a Pokeball. When the blue light dissipated, an overpowering stench filled the air, making Kai recoil instinctively. "Phew, that smell. Could it be another Skuntank?" As Kai's eyes adjusted, he saw the culprit, a Muck. Pinching his nose, Kai thought quickly. This was a rare opportunity to battle a high-level trainer, and with 3 Pokemon at his disposal, he planned to let each gain valuable experience. "Let's go, Jolteon." Kai released his Jolteon, who had already fought against Janine earlier. Despite its injuries, it stood ready for another battle. The match began. At first, Jolteon's agility and Thunderbolt attacks put Mook on the defensive. However, as Jolteon's stamina waned, Mook managed to seize an opportunity to land a powerful Sludge Bomb, knocking Jolteon out. Kai smiled, recalling Jolteon. "You did great. Rest now." Next, he sent out his Charmeleon. "Charmeleon, your turn." Koga's eyes gleamed with approval as he observed Kai's strategy. He's not just battling to win, he's using this match to train his Pokemon. Very clever. Kai grinned sheepishly. "Mr. Koga, your Pokemon are incredibly strong. This is a rare opportunity to learn from a master like you." Charmeleon charged in with Ember and Dragon Breath, managing to deal significant damage to Muck. However, Muck's resilience and a well-timed gunk shot proved too much, and Charmeleon eventually succumbed to its injuries. Recalling Charmeleon, Kai prepared for his final Pokemon. This time he was serious. "Let's finish this, Wartortle. I choose you." As the Water-type Pokemon appeared, it turned to Kai with a determined expression, ready to battle. "Wartortle. Wartortle. Despite the type neutrality, Mooch's stamina was clearly waning after its battles with Jolteon and Charmeleon. Kai knew this was his chance to turn the tide. Wartortle, start with Water Gun. A powerful jet of water burst from Wartortle's mouth, striking Mook directly. Mook endured the hit and retaliated with a Mud Bomb. Dodge it, Wartortle. Wartortle leapt aside, narrowly avoiding the mud attack, but Koga wasn't letting up. Mook, use Body Slam. Mook launched itself into the air and slammed its body down onto Wartortle, pinning it to the ground. Wartortle gritted its teeth, struggling against Mook's overwhelming weight. Off to the side, Aya smirked. Mook had defeated Kai's first 2 Pokémon, and now Wartortle seemed helpless. But her confidence was short-lived. Wartortle, use Rapid Spin to break free! The shell on Wartortle's back began to spin rapidly. The force of the rotation dislodged Mook, sending it flying backwards. As Mook struggled to regain its balance, Kai saw an opportunity. Great timing! Use Aqua Tail! Wartortle's tail shimmered with water as it leapt forward to strike Mook. However, just as Wartortle was about to land the attack, its body began to glow brightly. What's happening? Ayaya gasped. Kai's eyes widened. It's evolving! In a brilliant flash of light, Wartortle's form began to change. Its shell grew larger and more ornate. Its limbs and tail became stronger, and when the glow subsided, Blastoise stood proudly in its place. Blastos! Koga's eyes narrowed with a hint of approval. A mid-battle evolution. Impressive. But let's see if it can handle this. Mook, use Gunk Shot. Mook launched a glob of toxic sludge straight at Blastoise. Blastoise countered with Water Gun. The newly evolved Blastoise unleashed a torrent of water from its cannons, blasting through the sludge and striking Mook head-on. After being struck by such a powerful water-type attack, Mook was slammed hard onto the floor with a resounding thud. The impact was so strong that it cracked the floor, leaving visible fractures. Koga shouted, Mook, use Poison Gas. Mook struggled to rise, shaking its dizzy head. A green, noxious gas spewed from its mouth, quickly enveloping Blastoise. Kai shouted, Rapid Spin. Hearing Kai's command, Blastoise retracted its limbs into its shell and began spinning at high speed. The rapidly rotating shell generated a whirlwind so strong it completely dispersed the poisonous gas. Impressive counter. Koga couldn't help but praise his opponent, despite being in battle. But Blastoise wasn't done yet. It launched itself into the air and came crashing down onto Mook with tremendous force. Seeing this, Koga quickly shouted, Block it. Mook extended its arms, attempting to grab Blastoise. A flash of light coursed through Mook's body, and its once soft form hardened like cement. The 2 Pokémon collided with a loud crash. Mook let out a low growl. While it managed to catch Blastoise, the impact still inflicted damage. After battling 3 Pokémon in succession, Mook's strength was waning, its stamina nearly depleted. Yet Koga refused to surrender.
Whoops, use Mud Bomb.
Mook unleashed, a large blob of mud spraying it directly into Blastoise's shell openings. The attack rendered Blastoise's defensive spinning ineffective. Unable to maintain its composure, Blastoise emerged from its shell, its face slowly turning green from poison. Unfortunately for Koga, the battle was nearing its conclusion. At Kai's command, Blastoise fired a powerful hydro pump, sending a thick torrent of water at Mook and knocking it out. As Mook collapsed to the ground, Aya, acting as the referee, raised her hand. Mook is unable to battle. The winner is Blastoise. Kai approached Blastoise to treat the poison, but Koga was quicker, tossing him an antidote. Use this my special antidote. Thank you, Kai said, accepting the medicine and administering it to Blastoise. The effects were immediate, and Blastoise's condition improved in no time. Amazing! Kai exclaimed, surprised. Aya smiled proudly. Of course, my brother is a poison-type master. He's not only skilled in using poisons, but also in creating antidotes. This formula neutralizes any poison and even provides temporary immunity. Kai was impressed. Mr. Koga, would it be possible to... Before he could finish, Koga tossed him 2 more antidotes. Take these. I hope they prove useful in the future. Kai was touched by Koga's generosity, having not even asked for payment. At this moment, Aya retrieved a pink heart-shaped badge from her pocket and handed it to Kai. Here, this is the soul badge, proof of your victory at the Fuchsia Gym. Though her tone was formal, Aya felt guilty. She knew her brother's strength well, and couldn't shake the thought that if her Venonat hadn't been defeated by Charmeleon earlier, Koga might not have lost the battle. After bidding farewell to Koga, Kai left the Fuchsia Gym. However, as he stepped outside, a familiar voice called out to him. Turning around, he saw Aya approaching. "Miss Aya, what's the matter?" Aya blocked his path and declared, "Battle me again." Kai blinked, confused. "Another battle? Why?" "Revenge!" Aya said with determination, pulling out 3 Pokeballs and shaking them. "The gym battle had rules that limited me. This time, I want a proper 3-on-3 battle." "Sorry," Kai said, shaking his head. "My Pokemon are injured and need to recover at the Pokemon Center. Another day, perhaps?" Bayoa frowned, then gestured toward his Haunter and Kirlia. "Aren't they fit to battle?" "They're both exhausted," Kai replied. "Besides, I have urgent matters to attend to. I really can't battle right now." Aya hesitated, but eventually nodded. "Fine. Another day. But don't think you can run away. I'll find you no matter where you go." Back in Fuchsia City, Kai arrived at the Pokemon Center. After restoring his team's health, he joined them for lunch in the dining area. As he ate some fries, Kai noticed his Dratini sitting alone in a corner, eating rapidly. Its withdrawn behavior concerned him, and he pondered how to help it integrate into the group. His gaze fell on Charmeleon, and an idea struck him. "Charmeleon, come here." Charmeleon approached, looking puzzled. Kai walked over to Dratini. "Dratini," Kai said, catching its attention. "This is Charmeleon. Although you've met before, you probably don't know each other well. Starting today, Charmeleon is your big brother, and you're its younger sibling. Support each other and grow stronger together." Both Pokemon looked bewildered, exchanging confused glances. Sensing their hesitation, Kai leaned close to Charmeleon and whispered, "Listen, Dratini's been through a lot and needs guidance. Help it regain confidence, okay? First, you kidnapped me, and I missed my date. Now I have to babysit." Charmeleon sighed, but nodded reluctantly, ready to take on its new role. The Charmeleon loudly patted its chest with a confident expression, as if to say, "Leave it to me." When Kai returned to the dining table, Haunter floated over and asked curiously, "Why did you leave this task to Charmeleon? Wouldn't it be better and more efficient for you to handle it yourself?" "Of course I'll help from the sidelines," Kai replied with a smile. Haunter still looked puzzled, so Kai elaborated. "Actually, it's because of Charmeleon's straightforward personality. If I had given specific instructions, it might not have picked up on Dratini's subtle emotions, but its blunt and sincere behavior might help Dratini adjust naturally. For example," Kai continued, "I once met someone with a strong-willed personality. He became close friends with someone aloof by being persistent and sincere. That's why I believe Charmeleon is the perfect choice to help Dratini grow." After leaving Fuchsia City, Kai headed south. Spending the night camping in the wild, he eventually arrived at the southern coastline of the Kanto region. Continuing along the shoreline, he soon stumbled upon a quiet seaside town. Spotting some fishermen unloading their boats at the pier, he approached and asked, "Excuse me, do you know where the Seafoam Islands are located?" "The Seafoam Islands?" An old fisherman, his face weathered by the sea, took a drag from his pipe and looked Kai over. "It's along the waterway, leading to Cinnabar Island. It's quite far from here." "Why do you ask, young man?" Kai gazed out at the distant sea and replied, "I've heard rumors of a rare Pokemon there, and I just want to find it." "A rare Pokemon? Are you talking about Articuno?" The old fisherman exhaled a puff of smoke and chuckled. "That's just an old tale. I've lived and fished in these waters for decades, but I've never seen any Articuno. Every year, people search for it, only to return disappointed." Kai smiled politely. "I just want to try my luck. Even if I don't see Articuno, it'll be a fun adventure." After patiently listening to the old man's stories, Kai finally managed to get directions to the Seafoam Islands. Marking the location on his Pokegear, he thanked the fisherman and left the town. Mounting his Gyarados, Kai ventured out to sea. As he approached the deep waters and his phone signal began to fade, a message notification popped up on his screen. The sender was a girl with long, curly blonde hair. Her profile picture showed her holding someone's arm, her shy yet radiant smile lighting up the frame. Staring at her picture, Kai seemed lost in thought. He hesitated, his fingers hovering over the screen, but he didn't open the message. "Who's this lovely girl?" Startled by the sudden voice, Kai nearly dropped his phone into the ocean. Haunter! Don't sneak up on me like that. Sneak up on you? Haunter retorted, incredulous. I've been calling your name. You're the one spacing out like a star, you. Kai coughed, awkwardly, quickly denying it. I wasn't spacing out, I was just thinking. Oh, really? Haunter teased, glancing at the phone. So, who's the girl? Is that your arm she's holding? Shikai hesitated, clearly reluctant. She was a neighbor when I lived in the Kalos region. We used to play together, so we were close friends. That's it? Then why not reply to her? Haunter pressed. Kai sighed. Something happened, something that makes it hard for me to face her now. Recognizing the unease in Kai's tone, Haunter decided to change the subject. By the way, how did you become a trainer? You never mentioned it before. Even Corolio won't tell me. Kai shook his head. It's a long story. I'll tell you when the time is right. As Gyarados swam farther into the open sea, Kai decided to switch to his Zapdos. Taking to the skies, they flew westward, and 2 hours later, they arrived at their destination. Scanning the area for landmarks, Kai spotted 2 islands in the distance, known as the Seafoam Islands. Their twin peaks rose abruptly from the ocean, resembling a pair of sentinels guarding the sea. After circling the islands a few times, Kai instructed Zapdos to land on the larger one. A chilling sea breeze swept across the rocky terrain, making the sparse vegetation and exposed cliffs appear even more desolate. This place feels unwelcoming, Kai muttered, pulling his jacket tighter. Almost immediately, wild Pokémon emerged from the shadows, fiercely defending their territory. As Kai readied his Pokeballs, he muttered, "Guess I'm not getting a warm welcome here." Ivysaur, use Razor Leaf. Following Kai's command, sharp leaves flew out from the bud on Ivysaur's back, striking the Geodude in front of them with precision. Thud. Thud. Under the relentless assault, the wild Geodude couldn't withstand the damage and rolled down the hillside into the forest below. Kai exhaled a sigh of relief. Counting this encounter, it was the 6th wild Pokémon that had aggressively attacked him since arriving on the island. Zubat, Geodude, Tentacruel, Slowpoke, Shellder, Graveler, Kai had no idea what might show up next. While his Pokémon were strong enough to handle these attackers with ease, constant battling was starting to wear them out. After some thought, Kai decided to take precautions. He released all his Pokémon at once, letting them surround him. The familiar blue glow of Pokeballs filled the air as Jolteon, Blastoise, and his other team members appeared, forming a protective circle around him. This should make any wild Pokémon think twice about attacking, he muttered to himself. He continued deeper into the island, eventually reaching a cliff. A natural stone bridge spanned the chasm, and he carefully crossed it before passing through a narrow rock crevice. On the other side, he found himself at the entrance to a vast, rocky labyrinth. With his Pokémon by his side, the wild encounters dwindled. It seemed that the sight of so many Pokémon deterred most attackers. The labyrinth was a maze of towering stone walls with paths that twisted and turned in every direction. Many of the corridors looked identical, and after taking a few wrong turns, Kai realized he had completely lost his sense of direction. Haunter floated alongside him, scanning the area. Are you sure there's an Articuno on this island? We've been walking for ages and haven't seen a single clue. Kai smiled despite his exhaustion. If it were easy to find, it wouldn't be such a legendary Pokémon, would it? People think birds like Articuno roost in high places, but I think we need to head downward instead. Haunter blinked in surprise. Down? You think there's something beneath this island? Kai nodded. Feel that cold air seeping up from the ground? There's probably a massive icy cavern below. It's the perfect habitat for Articuno. That makes sense, Haunter exclaimed. But how do we find a way down? Kai looked up at Haunter and his Zapdos, the thunder Pokémon perched nearby. You two, check from above. Look for anything that might be an entrance to the underground. On it. Haunter and Zapdos nodded, taking to the air to scout. As they flew off, Kai sighed and leaned against a rock to rest. If only I had a Pokémon that could dig, he muttered. This would be so much easier. After a brief pause, he resumed his journey, following the maze's winding paths. He stuck to the classic maze-solving strategy of keeping one hand on the wall and following it, hoping it would eventually lead somewhere. The labyrinth bore signs of previous visitors' abandoned campsites, faded scorch marks, and weathered supplies. It seemed the old fisherman was right. Many trainers had come here in search of Articuno. only to leave empty-handed. When Haunter and Zapdos returned, they brought disappointing news. No luck, Haunter said, floating down to Kai. It's all just rocks and more rocks. There's no obvious way in from above. Kai frowned, thinking for a moment. If we can't find an entrance from above, let's try from below. Haunter, you can phase through the ground. Search for any underground caves and find a passage leading back to the surface. Got it. Haunter's eyes lit up with excitement, and it sank into the ground. This time, the wait was short. When Haunter returned, it wore a triumphant expression. You were right. There's a massive ice cavern deep below, and I found a tunnel that leads straight to it. Excellent. Kai climbed onto Zapdos' back, and Haunter led the way. They flew over the maze until Haunter fired a shadow ball into the air to mark the location of the tunnel. Zapdos landed gracefully near the hidden entrance. Kai dismounted and immediately noticed how well concealed the tunnel was. Thick weeds grew around it, and a massive rock partially blocked the opening, casting deep shadows that made it nearly invisible. A gust of icy wind flowed out from the tunnel, biting through Kai's clothes and sending a shiver down his spine. This is the right place, he said, pulling his jacket tighter. He took out a flashlight and turned to Charmeleon. You take the lead. Charmeleon nodded, its tail flame illuminating the dark tunnel ahead. The group cautiously filed inside. As they descended, the air grew colder and colder. The walls glistened with frost, and the ground became slick with ice. Kai could see his breath forming misty clouds in the frigid air. Almost there, he whispered, a mix of excitement and nervousness building within him. As Kai moved deeper, the temperature dropped significantly. Seeing this, Kai couldn't help but approach Charmeleon, hoping to draw a little warmth from the flame on its tail. As he passed through the long, narrow tunnel, the space suddenly expanded, becoming tall and wide. It was as though most of the mountain had been hollowed out. Above him, sunlight streamed in through a gap, illuminating the area and dispelling the dimness he had anticipated. Looking around, Kai noticed that the interior of the cave extended in all directions, forming a labyrinth whose endpoints were a mystery. The cave bore obvious signs of past battles. Judging by the damaged stone walls and shattered pillars, countless trainers must have fought their way through the maze over the years to reach this place. Follow me, Haunter said. Under Haunter's guidance, Kai ventured deeper, turning left and right through the maze. Finally, they arrived at a narrow, dug-out hole, no more than a meter wide in diameter. The cave was teeming with wild Pokémon. Along the way, Kai caught glimpses of red lights in the darkness, hostile eyes glaring at him from the shadows. Yet none of them dared to approach, seemingly wary of Haunter's presence and the group as a whole. Beside the hole, Kai observed traces of paw prints. He crouched down and ran his fingers over the scattered gravel and dirt. The hole appeared old and dry, suggesting it wasn't the result of a battle, but was instead dug out by a Pokémon, perhaps one that burrowed through to travel underground. Kai aimed his flashlight into the hole, but the bottom was nowhere in sight. The shaft seemed to drop straight down. Haunter grinned. Don't underestimate this little hole. It might look ordinary, but it's actually a shortcut. Go down here, and we'll bypass several levels and reach the deepest point of the caves. Kai didn't hesitate. He returned his other Pokémon to their Pokeballs and allowed Haunter to envelop him in a protective veil of ghostly energy. Slowly, they descended into the shaft. The cramped space barely allowed Kai to move his arms or legs, but Haunter's protection eased his concerns. Thick layers of rock and soil blurred past his vision as they descended rapidly. In just a short time, they had bypassed at least 4 levels of the cave. At the bottom of the shaft, they emerged into a vast, open space. The area was barren, save for scattered rocks and stones. Judging by the depth, Kai estimated they were far below sea level. Without Haunter's guidance, reaching this point would have been impossible without extraordinary luck or immense effort. The air was noticeably colder, though there was no ice in sight, an indication that their destination lay even further below. Where to next? Kai asked. We need to go further down, Haunter replied, flashing a mischievous grin. But from here on, we take a more unique path. Kai raised an eyebrow. Unique path? Haunter led him through a jagged crevice in the rocks. The sound of rushing water grew louder until they reached a massive underground waterfall, its roar almost deafening. Glancing at Kai, Haunter smirked. This is it. We're here. Kai could barely hear Haunter over the crashing water. He raised his voice and shouted, This is the unique path you mentioned? Haunter nodded enthusiastically. Kai sighed in exasperation and stepped cautiously to the edge of the cliff. Looking down, he saw the waterfall plunging into the depths, its powerful current carving a path further below. Well, it seems there's no other way, Kai muttered. Releasing Kirlia from its Pokeball, he gestured toward the waterfall. Kirlia, can you teleport us to the bottom? Kirlia nodded, and with a touch, Kai and Charmeleon were teleported to the base of the waterfall, arriving at the deepest part of the Seafoam Islands. The underground cavern was breathtaking. Stalactites of ice hung from the ceiling, while the floor was covered in a thick sheet of frost. The air was so cold, it seemed to pierce through Kai's bones. Yet the icy crystals reflected light, making the chamber brighter than the caves above. Shivering, Kai quickly released Charmeleon and wrapped his arms around the fire-type Pokemon for warmth. Charmeleon, I'm so glad I caught you back then. You're my saving grace right now. Charmeleon gave him a resigned look, as if to say, again with the hugging. It even tried to push him away. At that moment, Haunter floated beside them, gesturing toward the distance. Look over there! Kai squinted and saw a lake formed by the waterfall's crashing waters. In the middle of the lake stood a small island, its surface covered in a forest of icicles. The island sparkled like a crystalline temple, otherworldly in its beauty. If Articuno is hiding anywhere, it's there, Haunter exclaimed. Kai snapped a few quick photos before kneeling by the lake. He dipped his fingers into the icy water, only to jerk them back immediately. It's freezing! He quickly dried his hands on Charmeleon's tail flame. Kirlia, I don't want to risk getting soaked. Can you teleport us across the lake? Kirlia nodded again, gently touching Kai and Charmeleon. In an instant, they appeared on the island. Before Kai could take in his surroundings, a sudden burst of icy wind swept across the island, forcing him to shield his face. Kirlia quickly created a protective psychic barrier, shielding them from the freezing gale. Even with the barrier, the air was so cold, it felt like every breath burned his lungs. Kai's teeth chattered. Is this the power of Articuno? He rummaged through his backpack and pulled out a potion-like bottle filled with a warm tonic blend. Drinking it, he felt heat spread through his body as if he had downed a strong drink. Haunter floated over with a sly grin. We're definitely in the right place. Articuno must be here. Kriya! As if on cue, a piercing cry echoed through the icy chamber. A massive blue bird emerged from the forest of icicles, its shimmering feathers radiating a cold aura. Its eyes locked onto Kai and his Pokemon filled with a majestic, icy resolve. Kai couldn't help but grin despite the freezing air. So this is Articuno, the legendary Pokemon that so many trainers dream of meeting. The appearance of Articuno is notably distinct from Zapdos. Unlike the dry, spiky feathers of Zapdos, Articuno's feathers are slightly translucent and a stunning shade of blue. They are soft and fluffy, giving it a regal and elegant look. Its red eyes gleam with intensity, and a crown of 3 dark blue prismatic feathers sits majestically atop its head. However, the most striking feature is its long, ribbon-like tail, which flows gracefully as it flies. As Articuno soared and circled in the air, its tail trailed behind, making its movements appear fluid and majestic. The moment Kai laid eyes on the magnificent creature, without hesitation, Kai pulled a great ball from his belt and released the Pokemon inside. Screeskok! In a flash of blue light, a sharp cry echoed as Zapdos appeared, flapping its jagged wings mid-air. Zapdos and Articuno locked eyes, their auras radiating fierce energy. Though no words were spoken, the tension in the air was palpable. This was more than a battle, it was a clash of nature's forces, ice versus lightning, and a test of dominance over their shared territory. Kai smirked and called out Articuno. You know why I'm here? Are you going to fight us or back down? His words were a challenge, daring Articuno to respond. The legendary ice bird flapped its wings powerfully, summoning a frigid wind that howled through the area. Kirlia, block it, Kai commanded. His psychic Pokemon raised its arms, creating a barrier of psychic energy that dissipated the cold gust. So, that's your answer, Kai muttered, his eyes narrowing. Zapdos, let's go! Use discharge! Zapdos let out a sharp cry as its wings crackled with electricity, releasing a massive bolt of lightning that surged toward Articuno. But Articuno was quick to counter, flapping its wings to form a barrage of sharp ice shards that flew towards Zapdos. The air exploded with electricity and shards of ice as the two legendary Pokemon clashed, their moves filling the battlefield with dazzling light and freezing winds. Ice shards rained down, and Kai shielded himself as Corellia used its psychic power to block the debris. Zapdos, don't let up. Hit it with Thunderbolt, Kai shouted. Zapdos launched a searing bolt of electricity, which struck Articuno with a deafening crack. Kriya! Articuno cried out, but retaliated immediately, executing a swift triple axle. Spinning with icy precision, it struck Zapdos with powerful kicks, sending the electric bird tumbling to the ground. Zapdos, get up, don't give in, Kai yelled. Zapdos, though, battered, unleashed a desperate wild charge, electricity surging as it collided with Articuno. The impact sent shockwaves across the icy terrain, causing fissures to spread through the frozen ground. Articuno screeched in pain, but remained resilient, flapping its wings to summon a devastating blizzard. Snow and ice swirled violently, engulfing Zapdos and leaving the battlefield obscured in a frosty haze. Kai gritted his teeth, struggling to see through the storm. Zapdos, use Thunder! Give it everything you've got! Amidst the howling blizzard, thunder boomed as Zapdos released its most powerful attack. Rumble! A massive bolt of lightning tore through the storm, striking Articuno with blinding force. The explosion of energy was so intense that the entire cave trembled, icicles shattering and falling around them. When the storm finally settled, both Pokémon were grounded, battered from the exchange. Zapdos lay unconscious, its energy completely spent. Articuno, though wounded and breathing heavily, managed to rise shakily into the air. Scradu! With a victorious cry, Articuno flapped its wings, signaling its dominance. Kai sighed, recalling Zapdos into its Pokeball. Zapdos, you did great. Take a well-earned rest. He turned to his other Pokemon, Corellia, Jolteon, and Haunter determination burning in his eyes. Articuno isn't down yet, and neither are we. Let's change our strategy. This time, we're all going in together. With his team at his side, Kai prepared for the next phase of the battle, determined to capture the legendary Ice Bird no matter what it took. Charmeleon and Jolteon nodded in agreement, but Haunter and Corellia looked at Kai with worried eyes. Be careful out there, Haunter warned. Don't get caught up in the battle. Don't worry, I'll be cautious, Kai reassured them, patting Corellia on the shoulder before releasing Gyarados and Blastoise from their Pokeballs. These two will stay as guards and serve as backup. With them here, my safety is guaranteed. Now you can focus on fighting with everything you've got. Blastoise? Blastoise nodded firmly at Haunter, its expression resolute, as if to say, leave this to me. Alright, let's go. Haunter grinned excitedly and rushed toward Articuno, leading the rest of the Pokemon into battle. Articuno flapped its wings, sending a fierce gust of wind through the area, as if trying to intimidate the unevolved Pokemon into retreating. This pressure is intense, Kai exclaimed, then shouted to his team, don't back down. Articuno is injured and exhausted right now. Don't give him a chance to recover, Corellia. Use Psychic, Jolteon, Thundershock, Charmeleon, Flamethrower. The three attacks converged on Articuno. Sensing the danger, Articuno quickly whipped up a whirlwind, neutralizing the incoming moves. But then a Shadow Ball struck Articuno from behind, catching it off guard. Shriyash. Oh! Articuno cried out, spinning around to find Haunter laughing mischievously behind it. Hee, do you want one more? Angrily, Articuno retaliated with an Ice Shard attack, but Haunter vanished into the shadows with a chilling laugh. The icy projectile missed its mark, shattering harmlessly against the cave wall. Ha ha ha. Haunter's eerie laughter echoed, keeping Articuno on edge. Before it could pinpoint the sound source, another Shadow Ball hit it, further enraging the legendary Pokemon. Articuno, now furious, unleashed an attack of icy snow, blanketing the battlefield indiscriminately in an attempt to flush Haunter out. However, while Articuno focused on this, a fiery flamethrower struck it from below. Unable to dodge in time, Articuno's side was scorched. Articuno screeched in frustration. Surrounded by attacks from multiple directions, it struggled to keep up. The damage it sustained began to take its toll, and its movements became slower. Suddenly, Articuno narrowed its eyes, spread its wings, and ascended toward the cave's stone ceiling. Is it retreating? Haunter asked, puzzled. No, Kai said, watching Articuno intently. It's preparing a powerful move. Everyone, stay on guard. Realizing the danger, Kai's team launched a volley of attacks, but the distance was too great, and their moves couldn't reach in time. As Haunter prepared to intercept, Articuno completed its attack. A misty blue energy condensed into a sphere before crashing downward toward the ground. Kai's expression darkened. It's sheer cold. Everyone, get out of the way. Like Fisher, sheer cold was a one-hit KO move. If it landed, the damage would incapacitate any Pokémon that wasn't immune to ice-type attacks. Reacting swiftly, Haunter disappeared into the shadows, Kirlia used Teleport to escape, and Jolteon dashed out of the attack's range with its incredible speed. But Charmeleon wasn't fast enough and was struck by the icy blast. The freezing mist enveloped Charmeleon, forming massive shards of ice that trapped it completely. Unable to even cry out, Charmeleon was instantly frostbitten and lost consciousness. As the ice shattered, Charmeleon fell to the ground, motionless. Kai quickly returned Charmeleon to its Pokeball. Haunter! Don't let it launch another attack. Do something. Got it! Haunter replied, its tone serious now. Haunter's eyes glowed as they manipulated the icy stalactites in the cave, hurling them at Articuno. Simultaneously, waterspouts began forming outside the cave, swirling toward the legendary Pokémon. Although the waterspouts were slow and mostly missed, some of the ice shards struck Articuno. Unfortunately, the damage was minimal. Hey, Kai shouted. Ice-type attacks won't work against it. Don't waste your energy. I know, Haunter replied, frustrated, but this cave is full of ice and water. I can't create something out of nothing. Then use hypnosis, Kai commanded. Haunter nodded and began emitting hypnotic waves in a circular motion. The waves penetrated Articuno's mind, causing its eyelids to droop. Within moments, Articuno fell into a deep sleep, losing altitude rapidly. Just before Articuno hit the ground, Haunter activated Dream Eater. Bang! The combined impact of Dream Eater and the fall dealt massive damage, leaving Articuno unconscious. Good work, Haunter, Kai called out as he approached the fainted Pokémon. Articuno, once majestic, now lay on the ground with its feathers ruffled and its form battered. Wasting no time, Kai retrieved a great ball from his bag and threw it at Articuno. The great ball engulfed Articuno in a flash of red light. After shaking a few times, it clicked shut, signifying a successful capture. Kai let out a sigh of relief, a smile breaking across his face. That's it! Another legendary Pokémon is mine! Kai's Pokémon slowly gathered around him, carefully forming a protective circle. Picking up the Pokeball containing Articuno, Kai took one last look at the Ice Temple. The beauty of this sacred place had been destroyed by the fierce battle earlier, leaving behind only devastation and ruins. He sighed. Though it's become like this, it's a shame, but maybe, in time, other Articuno will return to inhabit this place. I believe that in a few years, it will look just as magnificent as before. Gathering his thoughts, Kai, now that his goal had been accomplished, turned and departed without lingering. When Kirlia used Teleport to transport Kai outside the island in the middle of the lake, Kai didn't retrace his steps. Instead, he waited for Haunter to scout a way out. Climbing partway up a steep rock wall, he flew for a long distance before finally finding a narrow crack leading to the surface. As the light returned to his surroundings, the refreshing sea breeze brushed against his skin. Kai stood on the cliffs of the Seafoam Islands, gazing at the endless blue sky and ocean. Although the Seafoam Islands appear as two distinct landmasses surrounded by water, they are connected by underwater passages, reflecting their twin-like nature. Leaving the Seafoam Islands, Kai traveled westward along the waterways. After several hours, he crossed the sea and arrived at Cinnabar Island. The island's fiery red color lived up to its name. Situated at the southernmost point of the Kanto region, Cinnabar Island is the largest landmass in the southern waters. It is covered in lush forests and dominated by a massive, active volcano. In recent years, tectonic movements have caused instability, leaving residents uncertain when the volcano might erupt again. Kai's reason for coming here was clear: to challenge the Cinnabar Gym and earn the volcano badge. Next to the golden, pristine beach stood Cinnabar Town, a popular tourist destination and resort town. As night fell, Kai arrived in the town. His first stop was the Pokémon Center to heal his injured Pokémon. At the Pokémon Center, Nurse Joy, a woman with slightly tanned skin, received Kai's Pokeballs. When she saw the two legendary Pokémon inside, her eyes widened in surprise. However, her professionalism quickly took over. She composed herself, smiled politely at Kai, and took the Pokeballs into the treatment room. It didn't take long for his Pokemon to recover. Afterwards, Kai booked a room and took a warm, relaxing bath to rid himself of the lingering cold. Finally, he had time to tend to Zapdos and Articuno. Kai began by releasing Zapdos. A flash of blue light illuminated the room, and Zapdos appeared. Its usual fiery arrogance was gone, replaced by a dejected demeanor after its earlier loss. His loss against Articuno has humbled him. Seeing this, Kai gently patted the bird's wing and spoke words of encouragement. Winning or losing doesn't matter, Zapdos. You're incredibly strong in my eyes. But Articuno was just stronger this time. Don't let this defeat weigh on you. He paused and smiled. Think of it this way. Having a strong rival gives you a goal to strive toward. When you've grown even stronger, you can challenge Articuno again. Next time, give it your all and prove your strength. After hearing Kai's motivational words, Zapdos perked up, its spirit visibly lifted. Satisfied, Kai returned it to its Pokeball and released Articuno next. The room's temperature plummeted as Articuno appeared, its shimmering blue feathers glinting in the light. The icy chill felt like turning on an air conditioner at the height of summer. Articuno, welcome to the team, Kai said warmly. I'm Kai, I hope we can get along well from now on. Articuno didn't hold any grudges about being captured, despite facing multiple opponents. It had been an intense battle. It had defeated Zapdos, but eventually lost to Haunter, acknowledging the ghost's strength. After introducing the rest of his Pokemon to Articuno, Kai changed into clean clothes and left his room to grab some food. Just as he was about to eat, a familiar voice called out behind him. Brother Kai. Turning around, he saw Misty, Ash, and Brock approaching. That old nickname stirred memories of a girl who used to cling to him back in Kalos' Comarine City. Kai shook his head and smiled. What a coincidence. I didn't expect to see you all here. That's right. Misty beamed. We just arrived on this island, and we're planning to rest up tonight. Tomorrow, we'll accompany Ash to challenge the Cinnabar gym. Ash and Brock greeted Kai warmly, and even Pikachu chirped happily. It seems we have the same goal again, Kai remarked, his gaze landing on a Pokemon cradled in Misty's arms. It was small, with a patterned shell resembling an egg, only its starfish-shaped yellow upper body was visible. Huh? You've got a Togepi? That's right, Misty said proudly, holding Togepi up for Kai to see. It hatched from an egg when we passed through the Valley of Charizard. Seeing Misty's joy, Kai smiled. That's a rare Pokemon. You should take good care of it. As they chatted, the four of them headed to a restaurant and shared dinner together. Amid laughter, they talked about their travels, swapping stories and experiences. Ash, eager to show off, opened his jacket to reveal 6 shiny badges. Big Brother Kai, look. We have the same number of badges now. How about we see who can earn the next one first? Kai chuckled. There's more to life than competition, Ash. Besides, Blaine, the Cinnabar gym leader is a formidable opponent. Don't underestimate him. Ash, always brimming with confidence, replied, My Pokemon are strong. No matter who the opponent is, I can handle it. Misty smirked. Really? She snapped her fingers and began listing Ash's badge wins. Let's see. The Boulder and Cascade badges were handed to you because Brock and I took pity on you. Ash's face turned red, but Misty continued relentlessly. Then there's Sabrina's Marsh badge. You only won because the Haunter you brought from the Pokemon Tower made her laugh, and Enrica's Rainbow badge. If Team Rocket hadn't set her gym on fire, and you hadn't saved her Gloom, you probably wouldn't have earned that one either. In fact, Misty concluded, the only badges you won fairly were from Lotan Surge at the Vermilion Gym and Koga at the Fuchsia Gym. Ash, flustered, could only laugh awkwardly, but the lively exchange left everyone in high spirits as they enjoyed their meal. Ash's energy instantly faded. Indeed, of everyone he had encountered during his journey, the only one who could criticize him so bluntly was Misty, known for her fiery temperament and unwavering honesty qualities that made her one of a kind. Hey, don't underestimate me like that, Ash retorted loudly, clearly offended. Fine, tomorrow I'll show you how I earn the Volcano badge with my strength. Really? Misty said, smirking as she baited him further. If you're so confident, then we'll just have to wait and see. That night, Kai returned to his room, but found himself unable to sleep. On the other 2 beds, Ash and Brock were snoring loudly, their rhythmic sounds grating on his ears like nails on a chalkboard. After tossing and turning for what felt like forever, Kai grabbed his Pokegear and opened a messaging app. His eyes lingered on an unread conversation. Pink Dream, Brother Kai, is everything going well? Although it was a short and simple message, Kai could tell it carried a depth of concern, underscored by the familiarity of the nickname. He sighed, recalling the strong yet delicate girl who had sent it someone who had once cried in front of him when he gently refused her feelings. That memory still pained him like a knife twisting in his chest. After a moment of hesitation, he began to type. Kai, everything's fine. I managed to catch a few Pokémon, and Ralts evolved into Curlia. Feeling the message was too curt, he added, Kai, sorry for not keeping in touch for so long. How have you been recently? The message was sent, and Kai stared at the chat for a moment. Their profile pictures were from the same photo. His was of him smiling faintly, with her arms looped tightly around his. It felt bittersweet now. To his surprise, a reply came almost instantly. Adjusting his posture, Kai read her message. Pink Dream. The same as always. Mom still has me practicing with my Rhyhorn every day. Crying emoji. It's so tough. Her reply felt lighthearted, but Kai could sense her underlying excitement. He responded with casual updates about his journey, and they chatted for another 10 minutes before his fatigue finally overtook him. He ended the conversation with a promise to talk again soon. The next morning, Kai, Ash, Misty, and Brock left the Pokémon Center and began exploring Cinnabar Island, famous for its hot springs and resorts. Tourists swarmed the streets, browsing stores that sold traditional yukata, hot spring eggs, and other souvenirs. Following the directions on Kai's Pokegear, they made their way to the Cinnabar Gym. But when they arrived, they found a hot spring resort in its place. Huh? Misty tilted her head. A hot spring resort? Did the gym move somewhere else? Before anyone could answer, an elderly man wearing a bright red jacket, sunglasses, and sporting a long white beard approached them from the resort. Without hesitation, he asked, The head is cold, but the body is warm. What is it? Ash blinked in confusion. Is this a riddle? Maybe it's someone who sticks their head in snow but wraps their body in an electric blanket? The old man frowned. What kind of answer is that? Don't answer if you don't know. Misty stepped forward. I think the answer is an open-air hot spring. The old man's face lit up. Exactly, you're quite the clever young lady. Now for the next riddle, cake, eggs, and rice. What does a puppy like to eat most? Brock scratched his chin thoughtfully. Maybe rice? Puppies wouldn't like sweets, would they? No way. Misty shook her head. I bet it's cake. Ash rolled his eyes. Misty, you're the one obsessed with cake. Puppies definitely wouldn't eat something that sugary. Ignoring Ash and Misty's argument, Kai smiled knowingly. He already recognized who the old man was. I think the answer is eggs. Oh? The old man's eyes twinkled. And why do you think that? Because Kai said people often say there are bones in the egg. The old man burst into laughter. Correct. Isn't my riddle fun? Ash, Misty, and Brock exchanged helpless looks, clearly unimpressed. Kai smirked. Since you enjoy riddles so much, how about I ask you one? Intrigued, the old man nodded. What a rare treat. No one has ever quizzed me before. Go ahead. Kai cleared his throat. If two people fall into a trap, the dead one is called dead. What is the living one called? The old man and Misty guessed several answers, but none were correct. Finally, Misty admitted defeat and asked, what's the answer? Kai grinned. The living one is called help, because they're shouting for it. He laughed at his own joke, but his companions remained silent, their expressions blank. You don't get it? Kai asked, incredulously. Not really, Brock admitted. Ash and Misty shook their heads in agreement. The old man sighed. Kid, I thought my riddles were dull, but yours might be even duller. Kai staggered as if physically struck. What? My riddles are great. Fine. Let me try one more. He leaned in dramatically. What's something people know is fake, but they're still willing to spend money on? Before anyone could answer, Kai pointed at the old man's head and exclaimed, A wig! Ha ha ha. Ash, Misty, and Brock facepalmed simultaneously. Even the old man sighed and patted Kai's shoulder. Young man, he said gravely, you've mastered the art of cold humor. From today, I acknowledge you as my greatest rival in riddles. Kai blinked, stunned. Wait, what? I never said I wanted to compete in cold humor.